Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode, or welcome to the second episode of Retro Reboot, brought to you by the GDQ Hotfix. I am Zoe Vermillion, your host for this evening, and I hope that everyone has been super excited. AGDQ just wrapped up. We've had a great week of Hotfix content, and we're going to go into Friday night with some Majora's Mask and Majora's Mask 3D, showing off both of these wonderful games as well as the differences between the two. I am joined by the first runner tonight, Clara Lynn D, and her commentator, Kaede. Say hello.
Hi, I'm Claire.
Hi,
Welcome
I'm
to the
Kaede.
stream. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, at this point, looks like we have nothing stopping us. So if you can give me a countdown, I can get the timer started.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So, welcome to Majora's Mask All Masks. This game has changed so much in the past few months. It's crazy. Like, this category alone has gone from being about 2.5 hours to just under 2 hours, which is huge. Yeah, so
Yeah, this category is essentially unrecognizable from what it used to be.
one thing that you may or may not notice is usually in Zelda games, you have to beat dungeons to beat the game. That's not going to happen in this run. We're not going to beat any dungeons at all. We probably spend a grand total of about a minute in dungeons. So this is basically just going to be all the side quests and the fun things that makes, or in my opinion, it makes Majora's Mask fun and the best Zelda game, obviously.
Yeah, we don't have to go through dungeons anymore, so it lets the run really have like the identity as all the masks and only all the masks. And what you need to get the masks, you don't have to do any non-mask related events.
So one thing you may or may not have noticed, if you know anything about Zelda speedruns, usually they're in Japanese. And usually runners will all like explain that Japanese is faster because of text or whatever, but actually for Majora's Mask, the fastest version is English. So you actually, if you are an English speaker, which I assume a lot of you are, you can actually read the lore and follow along with the story of this run.
Yeah, and English is faster for Majora's Mask these days because Majora's Mask has mostly quick text, so all the text is going to scroll by at the same speed. So Japanese didn't really save a whole lot of time over English in the first place, but now that there are some version-specific, whether glitches or setups for certain glitches, English is the faster version for pretty much every category.
Right, and one big change from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask for text specifically was that in Ocarina of Time, the English version would only draw one character per frame of text, and for this game, it does 2 for English per frame, but it still only does 1 for Japanese. So Japanese is actually still faster, but it doesn't save as much time as it does in Ocarina of Time. And there's so many version exclusive glitches for English that English turns out to be faster by like a half an hour at this point.
Is it really that much?
Yeah, it's like over half an hour. It's like 40 minutes.
Jeez. So do we want to talk about rules for the category? Obviously, it's all
Yes.
masks, so that means get all the masks.
One thing that is a big rule is you have to get all the masks from their source in the game. So like you have to do all the things that you would do normally in a casual playthrough to get all the masks. However, everything else is fair game. And as you will see, we're not going to be getting a whole lot of other items other than masks from their intended source. We're going to be spending a lot of time in the Iconic Graveyard, I'll tell you that much. So yeah, now we're just getting a lot of like exposition at the beginning of the game. Majora's Mask has a notoriously long intro.
Yeah, we got about 22 minutes of cutscenes and basic movement and stuff, but then after that, we'll be getting into the good stuff.
Yeah, and even though we've gotten so many crazy new glitches, we still cannot skip first cycle. And in fact, somebody that I know pointed this out to me, but if you exclude the final boss and first cycle and all the cutscenes and any percent, you have about 4 minutes of gameplay. And the category is 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
But this category, you know, it still has the same amount of time for the intro, but we're going to be spending a lot more time doing like other things other than watching cutscenes. But it's very interesting that it's kind of the final stand of MM at this point. It refuses to give us a way to get out of this first cycle state.
Yeah, we finally found one of our holy grails, and we just need to find the other one.
Yeah, so the first holy grail was being able to skip any dungeons at all, because actually before the new glitches were found, you had to still beat all 4 dungeons to beat the game, because somehow this game was like the most like big brain game where even if you beat the last dungeon, you would still have to beat every other dungeon to beat the game because of the way the final cutscene works. Like if you play Oath to Order, all the giants won't be there if you haven't beaten all the games, or all the dungeons, I mean. And it's so weird that it's like the perfect system for keeping people from doing sequence breaks. But now we don't have to beat dungeons anymore. But we still have to do first cycle. But that's fine. We like Deku. He's cute. He likes to spin.
Do you want to talk about some like basic speedrun Majora's Mask mechanics so we don't have to explain them while they're happening? ISG, hovering, hidden owl, stuff like that.
I would wait. We're gonna
Okay.
wait until we're actually doing those things.
Okay.
So yeah, now we're just trying to get to Clock Town. There's a chest over here, and in fact, there's a bunch of platforms that you're supposed to like go around over there to like show you how to use the flower, but you can actually just fly to the last one. And I tried to do a cutscene skip there, but it didn't work. It only saves like 2 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. And so now we're coming up to the first actual glitch in this run. The Happy Mass Salesman skip. Basically, I'm gonna try to skip this cutscene, but to skip the cutscene, I'm gonna have to do perfect pause buffering. So in this game, cutscenes take 2 frames to activate. So as long as we keep interrupting the game 1 frame at a time, the cutscene won't start. Nice, got it. So that saved about like 40 seconds, just talking to the Happy Mass Salesman. And actually, I'm gonna reset the console here. There's another cutscene that plays after you exit the Clock Town, or after you exit the Clock Tower and go into Clock Town. And on the Japanese version, the text is so fast that it's actually not worth it to skip that cutscene with a reset. But for English, we're gonna do that. And now we are in first cycle, and our objective is going to be make it midnight on the 3rd day as fast as possible. And since we don't have Song of Double Time, we're going to have to use other means to make it night 3 as fast as possible. So we're going to go into the Stockpot Inn, and the inn actually doesn't open until 8, but you can just fly up here and go in the top door. The top door is always open. And we're gonna go talk to our grandma, or at least she thinks she's our grandma. She's gonna tell us some bedtime stories.
I wish she was my grandma. She tells good stories.
so we're going to talk to her again. That's going to make it day 3. And then we can actually make it night 3 pretty quickly by going to West Clock Town, and we're going to talk to a scarecrow, and we're going to do a dance. And that dog can actually knock you over. So that dog behaves differently for every form. You probably know this. And it'll attack a Deku, and I've gotten knocked down by that dog so many times. It's not even funny.
The best is when you get dog comboed, you get knocked over by the dog into the cutscene trigger for the Deku scrub.
Oh, I've never had that happen.
I've had that happen. It's feels bad.
So yeah, we're gonna do a dance with the Scarecrow. We're gonna make it night 3, and then he's gonna ask us if we want to learn how to play a song that manipulates time. And we're gonna say no. Nice spin. We don't want to learn his songs. We don't need to know them. And now we have 6 hours. Well, 6 in-game hours until the clock tower opens. So we're going to use that time to do some stuff that would normally take up time if we did it during any other part. One thing about this game, speedrunning wise, is if you're doing something in what's called an in-game time segment, this is basically the only in-game time segment, but if you do something during an in-game time segment, it's basically not losing any time. And we have to wait for midnight anyways, so we're going to do as much stuff possible in that amount of time. But unfortunately, since it's first cycle, you can't really do a whole lot. So we're going to get that ferry, and now we're going to take a little detour, and we're going to go all the way to Milk Road. And then we're just going to leave. It's going to look really silly. But I promise it's for a reason. We're doing it for a reason.
Can I go see the scenery real quick?
Yeah, we just want to see as much of Termina as possible. Okay, and now we're just going to go right back to Clocktown. And we're going to go get magic. And then that is really the last thing we have to do in first cycle. Not super jam-packed with action, but it's a lot of essential stuff. And actually, one funny thing about magic in this game, so elemental arrows, you may think that like Goron rolling elemental arrows, you need magic for them. The only thing you actually need magic for in this game is to shoot a Deku Bubble at Skull Kid to get the Ocarina of Time. If there was a way to hit Skull Kid without a Deku Bubble, well, this run you would still need magic because the only other thing in the game that uses magic is Lens of Truth, which you need to have active for exactly 2 frames in this run. 1 frame for Goron Mask and 1 frame for Stone Mask. But any percent could skip magic if there was just a way to knock the Ocarina of Time out of Skull Kid's hands. And then you would have effectively infinite magic, because fire arrows, ice arrows, light arrows, Goron rolling, basically everything else that uses magic, if you don't have magic, it acts like it has infinite magic. Two frames in 1 bubble. So there's our magic power. And now we're just going to go to the clock tower. You may be wondering, why am I not doing the Bomber's Quest? Because I need to do the Bomber's Quest to get on top of the clock tower. But as you'll see, there's actually an extremely easy trick to get on top of the clock tower.
Can you use some acrobatic skills to bypass the whole thing?
I'm gonna try to do the cool one. Nice. So that's what's called a gainer. I did a version of it called ESS gainer. Basically, in this game, you can grab ledges if you're backflipping or side hopping. That's something you actually can't do in Ocarina of Time. I don't know why it's different, but if that was not possible, then we would not be able to do this. And now, for some reason, I just can't get this heart piece. I don't know why. I guess this game just hates me. So I guess we're just going to go to the clock tower. It would have been nice to have that extra health. But it's not that big of a deal. Okay. I was actually doing a glitch there to not pick up that heart piece. You can pick it up, but
I didn't know if you wanted me to wait.
well, it'll never come up again. So I'll let people off the hook this one time. This is your one
Yeah,
free.
Okay. Alright, so now we get the ocarina, and we can get on with the rest of the game.
Yep, only got about a few more minutes of cutscenes. Not that big of a deal. We love cutscenes. We like the exposition. Look at all this story. Look at all these places that Tail told us we need to go. That we're not gonna go. Alright, get ready. Hope I don't miss. I might miss this Deku bubble. Okay, so now we have the Ocarina of Time. And that's all we really needed in first cycle, was that. We spent 20 minutes of our lives just getting the Ocarina of Time.
And we get to watch the best cutscene because it's the only cutscene with Zelda in the entire game.
Right. So, I mean, it's called Legend of Zelda. There she is. There's Zelda right there. Alright, let's see if I can play this song correctly. I am notoriously bad at playing songs. But I'm a professional as well, so I won't mess it up. See? I told you. Nothing to worry about.
First try.
Alright, and now we're gonna do our trick where we reset the game to skip a cutscene again. So usually when you play Song of Time for the first time, there's a super long cutscene that plays. But actually, as long as you hit save, you can reset the console and the game will count it as have been watched. So we don't have to worry about that cutscene anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the game saves on the first frame after you press the save button, so you can just reset immediately and skip the whole thing.
Trouble, because I'll try to reset the first frame, and I'll reset too early. And resetting too early is a bad thing.
We've all done that.
Okay, so last thing we need to do is get our first mask, Deku mask, and turn human. And then this game is about to pick up so fast.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you're doing all masks with an estimate of 2 hours. It took you 20 minutes to get the first mask. You need to pick up the pace here. We're making that time.
No, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I have a plan for getting the rest of the masks quicker than this one. So we're 2 for 2 on songs now. I have to say, this is shaping up to be a very fine run. Oh yeah, also something I noticed, like, the other day. So normally I'm not, like, paying attention to these cutscenes when I'm playing. I'm just, like, pressing the button and looking at my computer or at chat or something. But one day I noticed that during that Song of Healing cutscene, Happy Mask Salesman's head, like, turns around 180 degrees.
Wait, does it? I've never noticed that.
Yes, it does. It's just like it's one part of the cutscene that it does that, and that's it. But it's very bizarre.
I feel like the Happy Mask salesman, any cutscene he's in, something weird always happens. Because I'll point it out later when it shows Majora like taking the mask from him. You'll see like the Happy Mask salesman laying down, and then his bag laying down next to him. The game just has 2 Happy Mask salesmen there, placed differently, so that it looks like a bag and him, but it's just 2 of them. And you can see his ear poking out from under the ground.
Wait, you can really see his ear? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and in that cutscene, on the English version of the game, there's one text box that you actually have to mash through. But on Japanese, there are no text boxes you have to mash through. And changing from English to Japanese in this game all the time is like, sometimes it's really confusing because there's like so many subtle differences between the two that you're bound to forget one. And I've definitely forgot about that text box quite a few times. Alright, so now we're human. And the game is really going to pick up. So Kaide, if you want to go ahead and explain a bunch of glitches we're about to do.
Okay,
because they're about to happen really quickly.
Yep. First things first, what we want to get is explosives as soon as possible. In this game, unlike in Ocarina of Time, the only thing stopping you from getting explosives is just you've got to go get money and you got to go buy them. There's a bomb shop on the east side of Top Town. You can just go buy them first thing. And bombs are really important because they're useful for most glitches. Like 80% of glitches in this game are going to be bomb related. They're super duper important to all speedruns. So anyone familiar with OT or RDMM, there's a couple important glitches using them. The first is going to be Infinite Sword Glitch, and that is going to be when Link swings his sword, you'll see a white trail following the sword, and that is like the hitbox of the sword. If you interrupt your sword swing or a crouch stab by interacting with something, bombs are really useful for this because they're portable and you can pick them up. It never puts away his sword, so your sword is always swinging. That's useful for a couple things because the first is that it will always have a hitbox. The second is that Link cannot fall while his sword is swinging. And we can use that to do hovering with explosives. So when Link takes damage on his shield, or when he shields damage, he will try to go into the fall animation. But since we have Infinite Sword Glitch active, we can't fall, so we just hover in there. So you'll see both of these right here, right now. There's Infinite Sword Glitch, and hover. So what we're hovering to is the owl statues in this game, which are places you can warp to and places that you save at. There's one out of bounds here that has some interesting properties compared to the rest. So if we activate this statue, that'll set us up for some glitches that we'll get to later. Here we're going to do one more hover and then play our ocarina so that we can... It's called song storage. Basically, you cancel the animation or the cutscene for the song playing. So when text comes up, it gives you the option to play the song again, and you can skip the cutscene of the song's effect taking place.
Yep.
Okay, got one more. This one is going to be a hyperextended super slide. So if you roll into damage, the game gives you a recoil effect, and if you hold very slightly out of your control stick's dead zone, you will, if you're standing still, Link will turn in place, just shuffle around.
That was very unfortunate.
Nice. But that state where you're shuffling around in your feet, will preserve your speed. So if you target and have the speed from the recoil from the bomb, and are in that control stick position, you will slide like this.
And so, an interesting about hovering is you don't actually need bombs to do it. Any damage source works.
Yeah,
so you saw it
because they're
covered off of that end right there. This is not a good bomb count. Nice.
Okay, and this is our first real diversion from what a lot of older speedruns from Majora's Mask, before all those new glitches were found, used to be. Most speedruns started with, you would finish first cycle and you would go straight to the swamp, because there's a couple things in there that are really important. There's a song that opens the swamp dungeon, the Woodfall Temple. There's the Song of Soaring, which lets you warp around. There's a bunch of stuff down there. But we are at the graveyard instead, because we don't need to get some of those things anymore.
You can just clip into that grave with a side hop. It's pretty good.
Okay, so this is our big glitch. This is what has changed everything. This is what lets us don't have to beat dungeons, get items from unusual sources. It's called scale reference manipulation. It was found back in, I think, like November or October, not enough time. Find out it works in Majora's Mask as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to kill all of these keys, and we're going to spawn a chest. Alright, and now we're going to load a bunch of different actors, and actors are anything in the game that aren't textures, basically. So like Link is an actor, a bomb is an actor, the Ocarina is an actor, Hookshot's an actor. We're going to load a bunch of different actors in a very specific order to manipulate the game's memory so that things are loaded in certain places. And we're going to do a trick here called a super slide, which is where you shield damage while trying to grab something, and that will send you backwards. Pass through a loading zone and try and pick up the item that we tried to grab. Because we passed through a loading zone, that item unloaded, so now Link appears to be holding nothing, but is actually holding an unloaded pot. And because of the way we loaded certain things into memory, we have set it so that the angle that Link is facing is going to write the contents of the chest that we're standing in front of. And now, all the helicoptering and shuffling, there are, what was the number? 65,536 possible angles you can find in this game. So we have a bunch of different very specific setups to find very specific angles. And so basically just looking for the certain angle that we need to get the item that we want out of this chest.
Okay, there we go. And this is a glitch, all right.
Yeah, so we drop the pot when we're facing a certain angle, and that locks that value into the memory, and we put the hook shot in that chest. We put a certain value that will give us the item without opening the chest, and then later we'll do some values that will require us to open the chest. So we can do both. So here we're going to do it again. Load a bunch of things in memory. So super slide, pick up our invisible pot. Let everyone know that the touchdown made it, or the field goal made it. now we're finding our second angle so that we can get the next item that we need.
Nice. All right.
I guess I should talk about that one. So, the bow in this game and the elemental arrows. When you equip an elemental arrow, being fire, ice, or light arrows, they will equip not on the slot in your inventory that those items are on. They will equip over the bow. So you would think you need the bow to use those arrows. It's actually not true. All you need to use an elemental arrow, if you have an elemental arrow and not the bow, is to have a quiver. So by getting the quiver there, when we get an elemental arrow later that we need to finish the run, since we have the quiver, we can use them even though we won't have a bow.
We do have bow.
We do have bow?
Yeah, the first time you get a quiver, it automatically gives you a bow.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
ESS and MM is not very easy.
Yeah, that control stick position I was talking about where Link will shuffle on his feet. That's what we're looking for here so we can turn in place. It won't line you up in an actual circle, so it's really useful for finding angles, because every time you go around a circle, you'll have different angle values every time. That control stick position is very, very, very precise in Majora's Mask on the Virtual Console. So it's really hard to make sure that you're constantly in that position and you don't mess up your angle.
I had a question from chat. Just to clarify, this is only going to be used for items that are non-masks, right?
That is correct.
You cannot do this for masks. It's not allowed.
Well, you can do it for masks. You could theoretically get masks. It's just against the rules for this category.
Okay. Okay, there we go. That one's hard to do. There's a lot of like small adjustments you have to make. But now we have tons of bombs, so I'm sure you know what that means. One thing you may notice is I'm pressing forward while untargeting. So, Kaide, can you explain how the camera works?
So, when you're targeting, the camera will can sometimes line up not directly behind Link. So when you are in that kind of situation where the camera isn't 100% behind Link, you can untarget and press forward to realign yourself, and that can give you even more choices on how to achieve a specific angle. So rather than just spinning around, you can spin around some, untarget, walk forward, target again, and that will realign the camera so that you have a different angle. So there's our light arrows.
Yeah, so all the items we're gonna get here is hookshot, quiver, biggest bomb bag, light arrows, bottle, giant's wallet, bunch of songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't trust it. I'm just gonna try it again. And all these setups, like she said, is like, it's so precise that you can't even really like see the difference between the setups. So even the smallest like deviation is really gonna mess up the trick a lot. Which is why I'm being extra careful. Really? right, and then that'll give us Lens of Truth. Like I said, Lens of Truth, you need it for a couple masks.
Mm-hmm.
So it is required. Nice. There's like a very small angle there where you can fall off without grabbing the ledge. And it's always nice to get that. And some of these setups I'm sure look really silly with all the like spinning around in circles, but your options for setups are pretty limited when you're holding a chest. Like you can't side hop, you can't roll.
Yeah,
You can't backflip, you can't do anything except for turn.
Yeah, you can turn, you can walk, and you can drop the item in your hands. Those are the pretty much only options you have.
All right.
Okay, I do want to reiterate just so when we get to the next section of manipulating the chest contents, the current setup we're doing, or where we're dropping the pot, is writing items to the chest based on the direction that Link is facing when we drop the pot. And now I think we have one more before we get to the next type.
Yes, so there's actually this is not the only way to get, that was only one bomb. We have to drop 2 bombs there just to load all the actors in exactly the right spot for that to work. But there are a bunch of different things you can do with this glitch, not just getting items out of chests, and not even just walking in front of chests to get items. Like, even for this specific thing, there's a bunch of different ways we're gonna get items. And actually, the next item we're gonna get is not even an item you can actually get in the regular game, but it is very useful.
Yeah, so we do have some benefits of this being the sequel to Ocarina of Time, in that a lot of the code was reused, or a lot of the items are still in the game's code. So, I mean, you see that in very obvious situations, like a lot of the characters are the same. So, like, Anju is the Cuckoo Lady, or King Zora is the leader of the Zora band, stuff like that.
Alright, so that did not show an item when I held it above my head, nor did it have any text. That was actually blue fire that I just got. A bottle with blue fire. And blue fire in this game does not act like blue fire in OT. Instead, it just acts like bugs. Okay. I'm gonna have to get more magic at some point.
Okay, so this should be the first of the 1134s, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this one's going to start the new section of doing SRM for the chest. We're going to do a little bit different of the setup. So it starts off the same, and we're going to get the super slide off of the pot so we can pick up the invisible pot. And then it's going to get a little different after that. What's going to happen is Claire is going to set the pot down at a specific angle that will, instead of writing your angle to manipulate the contents of the chest, what it's going to do is the angle that you collide with a wall at, or collide with an item at, that's what's going to get written to the chest. So you'll see, drop the pot at that specific angle, and then we're going to look at a wall, set it up for a certain angle, and she's going to run into the chest. That's going to store a collision angle. You open the chest.
Alright, just making sure I got it.
Invisible item number 1.
So that was actually Song of Soaring, which is pretty useful in this game. Basically just lets me warp wherever. Now I'm going to do a trick called Bomb Preservation. So you may know that when you save in this game, you actually lose all your items, but if there's a bottle over your item slot, when you play Song of Time, you actually won't lose it. Or you won't lose the amount of the item you had. And since the chest is now opened, I still want to get more things out of it, so I'm going to play Song of Time and do Song of Time storage to save the game while still here. And then I keep my 16 bombs, and now I just have to kill the keys again. Or bad bats, I'm sorry. They're not called keys in this game, they're called bad bats.
Oh, they're not?
It's the only game that they're called bad bats.
But so saving with Song of Time by doing song storage has some different properties than saving with it normally. It essentially resets everything in the world to as if you did it normally, except for a couple of things. So I believe one of them is it's not resetting the time of day, but pretty much everything else would go back to normal, right? So your item counts would normally go back to normal, except for we glitched some bombs so that we can keep them. But any chests you opened, any enemies you killed that wouldn't normally come back will come back by doing this.
Also, my Song of Inverted Time got undone, so we're going regular time again.
Alright, so we're going to set up for the specific angle again.
Alright, this one should be Epona song. That looked like 4, but I'm gonna do it again. Okay, that was definitely 4. Okay.
And another specific thing, we need to make sure, or Claire needs to make sure when she opens the chest that she doesn't touch the chest again, because that will reset her, or give her a different collision value, so the item in the chest would change.
Yeah, so you see me getting that specific angle, then walking into the chest, then walking straight back. That is just so... I make sure that I have the exact right collision angle, because it's just as precise as the other angles I was doing. But we're almost done. We have 3 more items to go. The next is another item that's not normally in Majora's Mask, but actually might be one of the most useful items you can get in this game, and that is Sun Song. So Sun Song in this game, you may be thinking, well, why would Sun Song be helpful? You have Song of Double Time. Sun Song in this game works exactly the same as in OOT, which means that time moves by very fast. And that basically just makes it to where you can basically eliminate all the waiting in this game and optimize where you go to where you really are more focused on just making the least amount of movement instead of like waiting for specific times of day. As well as it's just actually faster to play than Song of Double Time. But Song of Double Time still does have some uses, but not for actually time management.
You mentioned earlier doing things during in-game time segments. So that was basically like, if you're in a situation where you have to wait for the clock to advance and you're out of things to do, that is like an in-game time segment. Having Sun Song, since it does advance hour by hour, and you can go through a load zone to cancel it, or do other things to cancel it, you can essentially set the clock to whatever time you want, with some exceptions. So that really eliminates any kind of chance for an in-game time segment, which is really, really, really useful for routing.
Okay. Just being sure that I don't touch the chest again. And Sun Song will show up in my inventory, so I did get it.
Okay, good.
And now we only have 2 more items to get. We're gonna do another negative item, and that item is gonna be Pendant of Memories. That's gonna cut out a bunch of the Andrew and Cafe side quests, like almost all of it, basically. And then we're gonna do, what was the last one? Oh yeah,
The last one is
Deku Princess. which eliminates the need to ever even go into Woodfall.
Yeah, so Deku Princess, when this setup with the graveyard chest was first found, me, Claire, and a couple other people in our Discord, or in her Discord, were... how long did we spend looking for ways to get Deku Princess?
A long time.
A long time. It was like a couple days. It's like all Claire was doing. Just because it was so useful, because it really meant like we can cut out Woodfall entirely, which was a big thing. And we were looking at like spreadsheets and stuff of like what values are what item and how to get certain values and stuff. And I think all of them crashed, or one of them would give you a blue ruby instead, right? So we were like super bummed. We're like, didn't think it was going to work, and we finally found a way to make
we
it
didn't
work.
find it.
Well, a way
Seedborn found
was
it.
Yes, Seedborn.
I want to make sure
all the
to
scientists.
I want to make sure to say that this was definitely the work of a lot of people to find these setups, and I specifically had nothing to do with like the actual finding of this glitch. But I have found a lot of the actual like setups to make things work. And so is Kaide, so is Riley. Shoutouts to Riley. Also shoutouts to Turkenheimer, Full-Grown Gaming, Imbued, Seaborn, Mr. Cheese, Exodus.
And then,
Glitches.
of course, glitches and stuff. The guy who found style reference manipulation in the first place.
But yeah, there are a ton of people that helped find this stuff.
Yeah.
But we're
very
finally
much
almost done with the items. And we're going to move on to the actual meat of the run.
Okay, so this is the last one. We're going to set up one more time for that specific angle.
So we're going to do this setup one more time. And then we're going to... That's one too many. Okay. So we're gonna walk into the chest. This time we're gonna slash it back up. And if this works, we're gonna get a big chest animation. All right, nice. We did it.
Nice, good job.
Leaving the grave. And now we're about to completely bust the game wide open.
And that's everything, pretty much everything we need, if not everything we need to just go straight, get all the masks, don't have to do anything else. Just knock them all out in a row. Okay, so coming up, Claire's gonna do a trick called a weird shot. Basically what happens is, on a certain frame, if you roll into a bomb explosion or a damage source and try and pull out your hook shot, Glink does some weird glitchy animations, and some of them end up with him under the ground, and that lets you aim around like walls and things, and that gets us up here. Alright, and this one, Claire needs to hook shot the chest on a certain frame, so that when you take damage, you do get invincibility frames after it, so that you can't take damage again. So what she's trying to do is hook shot the chest at a certain time so that she still has invincibility, and then interrupt her taking damage again after that by opening the chest. This is very
I'm gonna have to
guys.
skip on.
This is really hard.
Because I would die if I tried that again. I'm gonna go ahead and get a Deku stick while I'm here too, because I need a Deku stick. That glitch is frame perfect, and it's very strange how it works. Like, I don't really completely understand how it works or why it works. But now we're just gonna use the grotto to just try and get some bombs real quick. And this game really does not like giving me bombs, ever. It's really not my strong suit, having good luck. Okay, I got some. So let's just go. And collecting bombs there will actually reset that bomb preservation glitch, but we don't need it anymore, so it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the last time you play Song of Time in the Run, isn't it?
Definitely not.
Oh,
You play it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's do the side. There we go. That glitch is so
There we
finicky.
go.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it takes
that-
1 try, sometimes it takes 50 tries. It just depends on how the game feels that day. Alright, so we're going to invert time again, just to be safe. And now I'm going to use that Milk Road map point that I said I was going to use. I told you it was going to come back into play.
Okay, so yeah, if you remember that one owl statue we hit when we hovered up out of bounds, the biggest thing about it, the most useful, is that it allows a glitch called index warp, which is short version is that it lets you warp to any owl statue without having to activate them first. All it requires is that you have certain map points on your normal pause screen map. So you pause, hover over a certain area on your map, and then close the menu, play the Song of Soaring, and then each map point corresponds to a different owl statue. And then you just press A and you can warp to any map, or any owl statue that you have the map point for.
And normally you're supposed to cross these gaps as Goron Mask, but since I don't have Goron yet, I have to just Mega Flip over them. It's kind of funny. But we're actually on the way to get Goron Mask. So, usually in Majora's kind of speedruns you may see people just soar to Mountain Village, but since we've never been to the swamp, we actually can't do that. And Snowhead is the closest place to Mountain Village that we can soar to. Which is... oh, whoops.
Uh-oh.
That happens sometimes. These are pretty precise tricks. What isn't precise in this game, honestly? Okay. Alright, that's fine. Luckily there's a bomb drop right here, so not a big deal. And I'll probably just buffer these. But it's not a huge deal to mess those up. Also, I should say, I don't know how many people know how finicky Majora's Mask is, but it is super easy to crash this game. Every single one of those things that I got out of the chest, there was a chance that I could have crashed the game.
Mm-hmm.
There was every single Mega Flip that I do, there's a chance if I don't do it right, I'll crash the game. And every Hess, every weird shots, everything pretty much crashes this game. So it's always kind of a gamble. Sometimes it just happens. But, you know, I'm a professional, so we won't crash the game, right?
That was always the old 80% route when you still had to do all the dungeons. Having to do the final weird shot on in Great Bay as the last boss. That was a big thing for everybody. Was that the other thing? Oh no.
Weird.
The other thing is that for weird shots specifically, it's easier to crash on English. So running on English makes weird shots a little bit more dangerous, which is why you saw Claire pause buffer hers just to guarantee it wasn't going to crash earlier.
Professional. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm a professional. It's okay. This is completely fine. I can try this as many times as I want, honestly.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Sometimes this snowball will chase you.
No, I was wondering if that was going to happen.
It's just kind of luck. Alright, there we go. Okay, so now we're gonna go to get Goron Mask. Usually you have to solve like... There's like this invisible ladder that you have to climb to get up to the area, but you can actually just use the collision of like the geometry of just the place, like the whole scene, to get up there with ISG and a few side hops.
Yeah, so this is called a seam walk. The polygons in this game were essentially like two walls, two surfaces, two polygons intersect. Link can walk up them, and then we get ISG just to make it easier to not fall. And then this all has collision, so we can just sort of hop up.
All right, so here's our first instance of having to use lens, one of two.
Here's our first frame.
And now we're gonna get a little cutscene of Goron. What's his name? Darmani. That's his name. Trying to save his people or whatever he's doing. I don't really remember exactly what his deal is. He's trying to do something.
He tried to go into Snowhead Temple, and the giant invisible Goron blew him off the path, and he fell into the spikes below.
I'm notoriously bad at remembering the names of the characters in this game, even though I've been playing it for years and years now. Goron Mask is extremely useful. Getting it right off the bat is like such a good idea because Goron Roll is the fastest form of movement in this game. It's equivalent to a Hess. So Hesses go really fast backwards, but they're kind of hard to control, and they're pretty limited in what you can do. But Goron Mask, if you're doing a Goron roll and you have magic and you're using spikes, it's actually the exact same speed, and it's much more manipulable. And actually, this is the first time we put on a mask in this whole run, so I have to watch that animation. You can skip those animations for every single one of them except for the first one. So, you know, probably like, what, an hour into the run, we're finally putting on a mask. So now we're gonna make our way over to Goron Village. There's a certain chicken nugget we need in here. Usually you come over here, you like talk to the baby Goron, then you have to talk to his dad, and then you have to come back, and all this is to just get into Snowhead. But we actually don't need to go into Snowhead. We only need to go into Goron Shrine for the rock sirloin, which is in one of these pots. And we don't have fire arrows or anything to get it normally. But we're not going to do the strat of just walking down with the lit Deku stick. Because that's pretty slow. We're speedrunners and we want to go fast.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a trick called Action Swap. And that's going to allow me to shoot a lit arrow through my Deku stick. Hey. There we go. You can't aim that arrow, you have to just like backflip and shoot it on a specific frame. And now I'm gonna get this rock sirloin. So if you've ever done this casually, you may have had some trouble finding the rock sirloin, but it's actually in the same pot every time. So if you know where it starts, you can get it first try pretty easily every time. And so now we're just going to be taking this rock sirloin all the way back to Mountain Village to give it to the Goron, who's very hungry and just wants his favorite meal.
I actually still don't know where it starts, so every time I try and practice, it takes me a couple tries. I need to learn which one it starts in.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
It's in
I have...
like the front right side one when it's not moving.
Okay. I'll do my best to remember that.
Yeah, in this run we like to do trick shots instead of just shooting the arrow normally. And the funny thing about that glitch is you have to have arrows, so you may have noticed, or may not have noticed, that after coming out of the Goron graveyard, I go over by the owl and get some arrows. That's specifically so that the game doesn't crash. So another way you can crash this game is try to do action swap and not have any arrows, because it will try to shoot an arrow, and if you don't have any, it's really not sure what to do. Something that I haven't mentioned yet, you saw me back walking there with Goron. So normal movement methods, back walking is the fastest. So since I couldn't Goron roll there, I just back walked. You've probably seen me do it a lot with regular Link too. But in general, moving backwards is better than moving forwards. And so now we're gonna put our cursor on Icona Graveyard, and that's gonna let us sort of Southern Swamp. We're gonna be putting our Deku Princess to good use right away. Honestly, being able to get Deku Princess out of the graveyard chest is such a big deal, because if not, you would have to beat all of Woodfall. Not because you actually have to beat the dungeon, but specifically to get the Deku Princess, which wastes a ton of time. So this is one of the bigger time saves you get from that chest. And we don't have to go get Song of Soaring because we already got it out of the graveyard chest. So we're going to go straight to Deku Palace, and we're going to go deposit our princess, give her back to her dad, save the monkey, make everybody really happy. One thing that's kind of inconvenient is the water is poisoned because we haven't actually beaten the dungeon. So we're gonna have to do an alternate way of getting into the Deku Shrine. That isn't just rolling around. Because we would actually die if we tried to do that. Now, there are ways to do it by going around, but the way I'm about to do it is way cooler and faster, so like, it's a win-win. And so now we're gonna save this monkey that we've never seen before. Don't know where... we got this princess, Deku Princess, out of a chest. Don't know why she was in there. Don't know why she's so mad at her dad, or who this monkey is, or why everybody's so mad. But I guess we saved the day.
We actually pulled that princess from an alternate dimension where she has all these crazy stories she's going to tell everyone.
I guess I'm glad we saved her then. I didn't want her to be in an alternate dimension. Oh god. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so we're gonna go over here by this torch, and we're gonna hookshot it. And you may have saw me doing that kind of a hookshot in the graveyard to clip out of bounds. Basically, if a hookshot, or if a torch that you can hookshot is next to a wall, you can actually clip out of bounds with it. And we use that to get past the loading zone to where the water would load. and we can just walk straight into the Deku Shrine. Now we're gonna race this butler. I hope we beat him. You can actually like completely lose this guy in this race. And
That happened to me all the time when I was younger. I like had no idea where to go.
Well, hopefully I remember. That would be kind of sad if I didn't remember where to go.
I also hope you remember.
You can get spikes there if you do that rolling correctly. I just happened to hit the wall. Sometimes bouncing off the walls makes you lose your like roll speed, sometimes it doesn't. It kind of just depends on how the game is feeling about it.
It's a very moody game we play.
It really is. We're gonna use a Deku Bubble to shoot this switch here. And then we're gonna jump across the things as Goran, and I hope that I can, okay, I did. So if you change masks on like that one frame, Link will like skew to the side because he's doing those cool flips or whatever. But he's not done doing the flip when you put on the mask, so he like is still sideways. Alright, so now we're gonna soar again, and I didn't actually set any point on my map. That's actually gonna correspond to Great Bay. So, fun fact, there's only one thing we need to do in Great Bay, and that is get Zora map. There are no other masks in Great Bay, so therefore we have no reason to be there. It is the most useless section in this run. But we still have to be here, and we still get to see the pretty ocean.
All right, Claire, do you remember the Zora's name?
Mikau. I do remember the Zora's name.
Okay, good.
Who could forget? Our dear friend Mikau.
Not Hermione.
Lost
That's
at
for
sea.
sure.
So, fun fact about this cutscene, if you didn't know, it's actually... So, you may know, it's a little bit of a well-known cutscene in Ocarina of Time, where King Zora is scooting over, and he's doing the mweeps. This cutscene is actually longer than that cutscene. So, I don't know what it is with Zoras and intentionally wasting our time, but they really love doing it. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to do a trick here. It may not work. Okay, I got it.
Nice.
So you have one frame there to play another song, or to do anything. One cool thing you can do is just pull sword, but an actual useful thing is playing Song of Double Time. And doing that Song of Double Time right there won't actually make it go to day 2. It'll actually make it go back to dawn of the first day. Because if you interrupt a day transition with like a load or a cutscene or something, and don't let it actually play out, it'll go back to the dawn of the day that you are on. So after this cutscene, it'll be 6 a.m. on the first day again. What happened?
Did we?
Okay, I think it reconnected. It's cool. It was in a cutscene. I don't know what happened there.
Spliced.
It's a splice run. We're back, I think. It's okay. You guys didn't want to watch that cutscene anyways, right? That was more exciting than watching the cutscene. It was all planned.
Yeah. I only want happy cutscenes, not sad cutscenes.
Okay, so now we are going to sort of Clock Town. And we're going to do the first parts of the Anju Cafe side quest. And also basically the last parts, all within like 2 minutes of each other. It'll be pretty neat.
This is actually going to be, if I'm remembering correctly, the first time-based events we're going to be doing. Like time of day-based events. So we're going to see some of the usefulness of the Sun Song, excuse me.
Yes, so now we're going to start using Sun Song a lot. And you already see maybe how powerful this can be. You can move around while time's moving super fast, and you can basically kind of like curate whenever you go wherever you want. I'm going to grab that Stray Fairy because there's a mask you can get from the Great Fairy. And then I'm going to go get Cafe's mask to start the side quest. And then I'm going to go straight to the Stockpot Inn. Alright. Now we're going to go to Stockpot Inn. And we're going to do every single part of Anju's side of the side quest. And then we're going to do every part of Cafe's part of the side quest. So we're going to get Pendant. Oh wait, no, we're going to get Bottle, Cafe Mask, talk to her, set the midnight meeting, backflip over the counter. And now we're going to catch this fish. And this fish is going to keep her from giving us the letter. The letter would overwrite our pendant, which is not what we want. So we're going to play Sun Song again, and then I'm going to mash A to talk to Anju.
One of the best things I think about Sun Song is that all of the NPC's movement is based on the time of day. So since time is moving so fast, they still move according to the time of day. So that's why you saw Anju just like warp to directly in front of you. Maybe you'll get to see some, like we play Song of Time or Sun Song later. Just NPCs just like sprinting around the map basically.
Yep. So they're all on like a cycle of, you know, wherever they're supposed to be at a specific time of day. So they just move really fast throughout their schedules, which is really convenient for us. And so now we're going to make it night 2. We're going to go get Bremen Mask, and then we're going to immediately make it night 3, and we're going to go into Cafe's hideout to get the express mail and the Keaton Mask. And so she didn't give us the letter. You may think that that's like a problem, since, you know, you need to deliver the letter to have Cafe be here, right? Well, we don't really need Cafe to be here. He will actually show up at Sakon's hideout no matter what, as long as we don't save the grandma with the big bomb bag. So we don't need him at all. The only thing we really need to do in this game is, or for this side quest, is a bunch of stuff with Anju.
Yeah, so if you didn't save the grandma with from Sakon with the bomb bag, and you did everything with Cafe, but you didn't do anything with Anju, when you got to the final location where you get the couple's mask, Anju wouldn't be there, and you get a special little text box from Cafe. That is very sad.
However, one side effect of this is that the door won't be unlocked, so we have to do a little trick there to get into the hideout without actually being able to open the door. But it's pretty easy. There's about 1 million ways to get in there. You can actually go around the outside of... You can actually go around the outside of the laundry pool by just side hopping with Zora. to grab the ledge of like that wall right there. It's pretty funny. Like you don't even need any glitches.
One thing I do like about how we don't talk to Cafe at all, we actually skip the cutscene where Cafe takes off Cafe's mask, or the Keaton mask, I mean. So later when we see him, when he's normally not wearing the mask, he's still wearing the mask, which I just find kind of silly.
Yeah, so if you don't ever watch that, yeah, he won't take off the Keaton mask. So for the rest of the side quest, he'll still be wearing the Keaton mask, which is a little silly. So we have to deliver the mail to give it to Postman, and I had to buy a red potion to get Stone Mask later from the guard. And now we're gonna go to Stone Tower, but we're not gonna do Stone Tower just yet. We will actually have to go into Stone Tower. We won't beat it, but that is the dungeon that we have to spend some time in because they were evil and put a mask in there for us to get.
Every time I try and jump down here as Goron, I get sniped by that Keese.
Yeah, I deliberately try to avoid it.
Okay, so Claire's gonna set up here in a very specific spot, so that as she holds forward, she can just break through this wall.
Yes, the collision for the music box house is very funny. There's about 1 million ways to clip into the music box house.
So yeah, usually
but that one looks pretty silly.
Usually you have to go like do a whole side quest and learn Song of Storms and play the Song of Storms so that the little girl who has the door locked comes outside and looks at the river that is now flowing again, so then you can sneak in. So just side hop into a certain spot and we can skip all of that.
Alright, and then from here we're just gonna go straight to Sakon's hideout. The door's gonna be shut because we didn't really get here in time to get into Sakon's hideout, but pretty much everybody knows that you can get into Sakon's hideout without actually opening the door. And from here to the end of the cycle is actually probably only like 6 minutes. And we're gonna get probably like 5 more masks. So we're really starting to pick up how many masks we get, like per second. So we're gonna do a little setup here to get in.
Bringing up our MPS value.
Yeah, the MPS is going way up. We get to do a fun little puzzle here.
And there's Cafe still wearing his Keaton mask.
Hopefully I can solve it in the amount of time we have. That mask is moving pretty fast though, so it may be kind of tight. So I'm gonna try to not pick up Deku Nuts here. Believe it or not, I have not picked up Deku Nuts yet, but it's kind of luck whether the Deku Nuts run into me. I hope they don't. There's that cutscene. Oh, it's right in front of the door. Ooh, expertly avoided that.
Very nice.
Better fighter than I am.
Yeah,
I think that may be the first enemy I've actually fought.
fought like took damage from?
Well, I guess other than the Dekubabas.
Yeah, because you got some damage.
You don't do a whole lot of fighting in this run. we're very anti violence in the All Masks run.
When are we coming up with a pacifist route? Finding a way to beat Majora without dealing any damage?
Well, I don't know how you're gonna do that and beat Majora. We need a credits warp. That is one thing you can't do in this game, is warp to the credits. I mean, you can warp to the credits, but the credits won't.
Yeah, there's a warp to the credits, but you gain control, so the credits don't finish, so it doesn't count, which makes me very sad because I wish it was a real thing. Cool, and here's frame 2 of Lens of Truth being useful.
Yep, that's the last time we're ever going to use Lens of Truth. Also, there's a part coming up. I don't know if anybody in chat gets anxiety from the clock tower bells. I get anxiety from the clock tower bells. But either way, you're about to really get put on edge by the next part here. And this is actually the first time entering North Clocktown from an entrance in Clocktown, so we got that cutscene.
I'm gonna go drop off the ferry we got a little bit ago. We're gonna pick up one more mask.
So we're going to do a cutscene skip here where we void in the water while we go into the cutscene trigger. We can tell we got it because the black bars came down to show that the cutscene started. One of the nicer cutscene skips in this run, because it's pretty easy to do, and it saves quite a bit of time.
Yeah, that cutscene's like a minute or more.
All right, get ready for the anxiety. Every time. And so I haven't really explained how fast time is moving. Time is moving 10 minutes every frame. So I have about 6 frames until the moon crashes after this cutscene ends. So I need to press Ocarina pretty quickly. I hope I get it.
Yeah, so that's what, 10 minutes per frame. This game runs at 20 minutes or 20 frames per second. So it's what, 200 minutes per second.
200 minutes?
What, 3 hours? Yeah, 200 minutes per real-time second.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's what, almost 3.5 hours per second?
Yeah, time moves very, very fast.
Very fast. Nice arms.
I mashed both Ocarina and Start just in case I mashed the wrong button. I've actually mashed the wrong button there before and the moon crashed. So I really wanted to be safe. But now we're going to go back to Dawn of the First Day and we're going to do all the other quests that we haven't done yet. You have to do at least 2 different cycles in this game to get everything. Usually it's faster to do more. But you can't do Blast Mask and Couples Mask in the same cycle. So now we're going to be doing Blast Mask. You may have saw Postman zoom by right there.
The speed of light.
Just showing how fast the NPCs are moving right now. And actually, you can have situations where NPCs are like going through doors, and doors still take the same amount of time, regardless. And so the door won't close until the day ends. That's happened to me a few times as well, and it's not very fun. It's very frustrating. But it's one of the interesting side effects of Sunsong, where an NPC just goes into a door and then the door is open for the rest of the night and you can't do anything.
So what would happen if you were to play Sunsong here? Would you miss the trigger for getting the blast mask?
If you played Sunsong after hitting Sakan, so Sakan still moves at the regular speed, so the day would change before Sakan actually left.
Hey, that's interesting.
Alright, so now we have to get some stuff. We need magic, we need arrows, and we need bombs. You can't actually get arrows as Goron, so I changed to human there just to farm for some arrows real quick. Now we're going to farm this Butch Patch as well. Just hoping to get some more bombs, because the bombs we get right here are basically going to be the only bombs we have for the rest of the run. I only got 5, so I'm actually going to have to farm for some more. Ideally, you get like 15 or so. And now we're going to use light arrows to farm some rupees really quickly. If you shoot an enemy with a light arrow, it drops a 50 rupee and kills it instantly. So we're going to use that to our advantage to get 200 rupees really quickly so we can buy some Chateau Romani later. Oh wow, he was right there. Oh no. Okay, so I'll just have to get some more money later. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, there's.
But I'm out of magic, so I can't shoot anymore. I'm gonna farm these bush patches over here real quick. Didn't get any bombs, that's fine. So now we're gonna go save the barn from the aliens. But the way we're gonna do it is not really the way you may expect.
So I guess I should kind of mention what happened there. There's when you hover, you do have to be a certain distance off of the ground to stop Link from just falling right to the ground. So Claire was just a little bit too low for it to work that time.
So I'm going to do a twisted backflip there to get onto this seam. And we're going to go around the rock that way instead of actually using a powder keg or anything.
Alright, so basically what's happening here is that when you fight the aliens, once the aliens start, you don't have to kill a certain number of aliens, you just have to keep them at bay until a certain time of day. So what Claire's doing is the aliens are active, she's played Sun Song, so time of day is passing. So she's mashing pause, so like the actors or their characters in the game don't move, but time of day will still pass. So she just mashes until a certain point when the time of day is passed when the aliens lose, and here we are.
Yep, super easy. And now we're just going to Sun Song again to make it second day. We need it to be night of the second day so that we can take the carriage ride with Cremia. Oh, wrong way. But yeah, that's a pretty good showing of just how broken Sun Song is in this game. I mean, this whole run is really. As far as speedruns go, oh, I didn't play Sun Song again. It needs to be night 2.
Okay, so what Claire's doing here is setting up for a cutscene skip. If you remember when she talked about the day resets earlier, we're going to do another one, and that's going to skip a couple of cutscenes. So what she needs to do, she has a bottle in her hand, and if you target and then try and empty the bottle and then cancel that animation with a shield, you get stuck in the cutscene. And if you do it in front of a gossip stone, it lets you play your ocarina while you can move. So she's going to queue up a day transition with Song of Double Time and then talk to Crimea. The text will activate, so she can activate the day transition, and that'll get canceled by talking to Crimea. So now it is back at the beginning of second day.
And I have to just empty that bottle because I need an empty bottle for Chateau Romani later. And now we're gonna Sword and Milk Road because we can't get around that boulder. So we're gonna go to get Garomask. And this place has like the coolest music, I think, in the whole game. It's my favorite music anyways.
Dude, everything with Milk Road has good music. Like, the racetrack has good music, the Crimea cutscene has good music. Which is why I'm sad that, like, honestly sad that we skipped it, because the music is so good. Cool, and since, oh, that's another thing, since we got Epona Song from the chest in the graveyard, we don't have to watch the cutscene of learning Epona Song or when you first see your forest. We can skip all those as well. So we can just have it.
Guess the race time.
I like how there's no collision on that post, so you can move right up in the right route.
Okay, and so now we're just gonna play Sun Song again, and this will actually skip another cutscene for Crimea. And I'm gonna try to do something here. I don't know if I'll get it to work. I don't think I did, but you can actually mess up like Link while he's riding in this if you're crouch stabbing. It makes him T-pose.
Oh, does it?
It's pretty funny, yeah. But I never get it. You have to. It's like a very specific frame of the crouch stab. Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got it? Amazing. I've never seen that. Oh, and it glitches out the everything.
Oh no. Wait, I didn't know that happened. Darn. Okay, well, that's fine.
When swag goes wrong.
There we go. Oh no. See, we're fine. I told you.
Oh, we got control. Okay, good.
I see. You guys all thought
I thought
that I had no idea what I was doing. I showed you all.
I fell for it.
Yeah, you all.
Yeah, same.
That was a pretty good one. Huh? So anyways, now we have Romani's Nest, and we're going to use that immediately. But first, we got to farm for some more bombs, and we got to get more money, because Chateau Romani costs 200 rupees, and I only have 150 right now. But I can just shoot literally any enemy out here with light arrows, and it'll work. Okay, I want one more bomb drop. This game does not like giving me bomb drops.
You seem to have like the worst luck.
It's actually kind of crazy. Like, I don't see anybody as bad at bomb luck as I do.
Everybody always has their one thing that they have awful RNG luck with.
There we go. That's how you play that song. Alright, so the milk bar doesn't open until 10, so I play Sun Song out there just to avoid that thing I was talking about earlier. The Gorman Bros leader will actually walk into the bar at 10, and he will not close the door until the next day. But playing the song out there completely avoids that. And now for everybody's favorite part.
Do you like this song?
It's okay.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't the Zelda. It wasn't Zelda's best song.
Hey. And it's been pointed out to me a bunch of times that it's very comical that Deku has a gigantic spot and Goron has like the tiniest spot in the back.
Dude, he barely even like I don't even.
He
think
doesn't even fit in the
fits.
spotlight.
Yeah.
Poor poor Gorons. Nobody loves them.
It balances out. Deku's the worst transformation and Goron is the best, so...
Yeah, he's... Deku's the least
it's the one
useful,
time
so
Deku
he gets the biggest spotlight. Goron's the most useful, so he gets the smallest spotlight. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Alright, so the whole gimmick of this is just you play a different part of the song as every form, and then you get a mask. They say it sounds like Ballad of the Windfish, but I don't think it sounds anything like that. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think they, like, in the game, they say it's the Ballad of the Windfish, yeah.
Yeah, they say that's what it is, but it like
okay.
doesn't sound anything like it.
No, it doesn't.
At least in my opinion.
Well, wait, when you think about it, Link's Awakening all took place during a dream that Link was having, so...
Whoa, spoilers.
The game came out, what, 20 years ago?
Oh, it came out
but
last
the
year.
remake just came out.
You guys are like the people with the Xenoblade. You're like, how can you be a Xenoblade fan? The game isn't even out yet.
Alright, so there's a chance that I get kicked out here. Yeah, I got kicked out. So if the time happens to pass by the time that it's supposed to close, you will get kicked out, but it usually doesn't. It's just another quirk of Sun Song. But it's not that big of a deal. We just have to play our songs out here instead of inside. Alright, so now we just gotta wait until 10 and then we can open the door. Tried it a little bit early there. And we're gonna do our bomb preservation trick again, and we're also going to get a bunch of money really quickly.
So the way this bomb preservation works is a little bit different. Or I guess no, it's not. Wait, yeah, it is. Okay, so there's sometimes a frame, sometimes 2 frames. If you hold shield, you can extend it to 2 frames, where you have the chance to... The game takes a frame or 2 to recognize which slot you sold, and then write an empty bottle to it. So if you switch what item is in that slot, you can put an empty bottle over it. So that's how we, or that's how Claire put a bottle over her bomb.
Alright, and now we're gonna soar back to Stone Tower. We're actually gonna do inverted Stone Tower. We don't have to do regular Stone Tower because we already have light arrows, and that's the only thing you would need in regular Stone Tower. The only thing you need in inverted Stone Tower is Giant's Mask. So we're gonna go in there and get Giant's Mask, and then immediately Song of Time. I'm gonna do a trick here called Time Stop. I did it earlier to skip the first Crimean cutscene. This time I'm gonna use it to get on this platform without it moving away from me. Nice. So, a property of Time Stop is no cutscenes will happen while it's active. So we use that to our advantage just to keep that cutscene from the block moving back from happening. And then I do a trick called Extended Bow there to shoot the emblem through the wall.
So the reason that during Time Stop, cutscenes can't activate is Time Stop is a cutscene that you have control during. So only one cutscene can play at a time. So since you're moving around during a cutscene,
we're gonna get Silent Stone Tower.
Cancel the cutscene.
Silent Stone Tower is so cool. So the music won't play in Stone Tower if it's final hours. And only if it's final hours. And it's pretty neat. So I just use a little trick to clip through that block. I could just shoot it, but it's slower. And then I do a trick called a recoil flip here to go straight to this bridge, and then I'm going to kill the Igor and try to get in front of the chest. I might be on top of it. And this is all we needed in Stone Tower. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
In my opinion, this is like the only good dungeon that Majora's Mask has, so I'm actually kind of happy that if there was going to be one dungeon, we went into it.
Alright, and now we only have 2 more masks to get. We have Mask of Truth and we have Bunny Hood.
Oh yeah, I forgot, Claire. You were already at the ranch. Why didn't you get Bunny Hood there? Did you forget?
Yeah, I forgot, so I have to come back and get it now. Luckily, there's a really easy way to get it. And it won't take too much time. Alright, we're gonna soar to the swamp now, because we're gonna go get Mask of Truth. And then we're gonna go to Deca Palace again, because I really like that place, and I just want to see more of it. It doesn't really have anything to do with the speed run or anything. You know, I just like that place. Oh, I do need to get a Deku Stick. Sometimes I forget about this Deku Stick, but there's a web in front of Swamp Spider House that you have to burn, and I don't have fire arrows, so Deku Stick is the only way I can do that. Also, I have to be careful to not unequip bombs here, or else I will lose my 9 bombs that I have, and I'll have to go get more. Alright, and now we get to do one of the last vestiges of gameplay in this game, Swamp Spider House. So actually, if there was another way to get Skulltula tokens, which I'm sure there is, because SRM is like pretty much all powerful, you could just give yourself 30 gold Skulltula tokens for this and not even have to do it. But it's kind of cool that you still have to do the Spider House. It's like, there's still some things that are required to get all the masks in the game. You can't cheat everything. Alright, now we're gonna make our way over here to this other soft soil. And a lot of... Ooh, I hope that bug didn't fall off. Okay, it didn't. So, there are instances where if not all 3 bugs dig into the soft soil, you won't get the Skulltula to come out. I never see it happen to anybody besides me, but it can and does happen. And it's very sad because there's really nothing you can do about it. It's kind of just luck. Luckily, it's not like super common, but it's still not very fun to have happen.
Yeah, if that happens, you just have to go all the way back out to the front room and have more bugs come out there.
I got a little nervous when I saw one of those bugs walking off the platform, but I guess it didn't actually fall off, it was just on the wall. I don't know where the last one is. Usually I have headphones in, so I can hear where it is. Oh dear. It was out in the open. One thing that's nice about stereo sound is you can tell where things are by listening. And I really use it there because sometimes they can be in the grass and you can't see them, but you can hear them. And also, I fell off there, so when you have critical health, you can't really walk straight, which has been kind of frustrating for this whole spider house, but I'm making the best of a bad situation. I don't know why the game is like this. I guess they were trying to like make the camera zoom in on Link to make it more like cinematic when he's about to die, but it really just makes it super annoying when you're trying to do precise things.
I think because something similar exists in Ocarina of Time, I think it was the developer's way of like you'll see people walk kind of wobbly in like other video games when they're like at low. And I think it was supposed to be like a Link is close to dying, so he's kind of weak.
Yeah, maybe that's
My
it.
theory. Yeah, because in Ocarina of Time, there's a thing called a crit wiggle, which is when you're at critical health. Once every so many frames, the game will input a random direction between up and left. So if you like try and roll on that frame, you'll just get a up left roll and can really screw up your speed runs. And in this game, we just can't walk straight, which is also super annoying.
All right, now we're gonna change to Deku because Deku actually moves faster than Human Link, and we need it to go on these lily pads. And now we got Mask of Truth, and now we only got one more mask, and then we just have to beat the game.
All right, so yeah, we gotta go back to the ranch, I guess, because Claire forgot to get the bunny hood earlier.
Yes, we do have to go back to the ranch, but first we're gonna go to Deku Palace because I promised we were gonna do that.
Okay, so some of you might be already onto it. Claire is doing the same thing she was doing in the graveyard. She's loading and unloading a bunch of different things over and over again so that we can influence where certain things are loaded. So that here in just a moment, when we pick up a pot, it is writing data, or is writing position data. This time it has to be something else. So we're gonna
We
pick
got
up
a
a
good
pot
friend
on
with
this
this pot
frame.
again.
Mhm.
And we're gonna go in this corner, and then we're just gonna wait for the camera to settle. All right, and now we're just gonna walk left for a while.
So this is a setup to get a certain X and Y coordinate on the map so that when Claire drops the pot, it's in a very specific position.
I also have Stone Mask equipped. Those guys can catch you and ruin that setup, but luckily this is all mask. So we can actually use the masks to our advantage here. Okay. Now I need to get caught by this specific guard.
All right. Yeah, you see that guard is not moving because what we were writing with the pot. Oh no.
It's cool. We're right here.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, you can just try it again. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I've never seen
But,
that one before though.
Yeah, me either. I didn't even know that was a warp.
So, just like the other warp, or just like the getting things out of the chest, this is super precise. I probably just messed up like a super minor thing. But we can try it again super quickly.
Yeah, so with this setup, what we're doing is we're writing the X and Y coordinate of where the pot ends after Claire throws it to the spot in the memory where the game says you're supposed to go when you get caught by that one specific guard.
Bye-bye, Chi.
Just like,
Okay, that's fine. Luckily, you only need 2 bombs here. All right, let's try this bad boy again. Get caught by this guard again. Gotta put my sword away so I can hover with Blast Mask. Okay. Not a big deal. Just gonna have to do the backup setup now.
I hate this setup so much.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's what we got. It's okay. We got Blast Mask back again.
Yeah, you know.
All right. So now we're just gonna go back to that guard again. Fall off. It's cool. We have plenty of time.
And yeah, like Claire said, stone mask, so there's no risk of getting caught by the guards. So
That is interesting that that's not working. I'm just gonna go around. So we're gonna wait on this guard. Go around. But it's fine. Alright. So we're getting Bunny Hood.
there we go. And we made it back to the ranch.
We got back to the ranch just in time. But we still have to beat the game now. And
Right,
how are we gonna get to the moon without all of our boss remains?
So with this warp, an interesting effect with Sun Song is that, I believe it's with Sun Song. I don't know. Oh yeah, well specifically here it's Sun Song. You can't play Song of Double Time here. If you void out or go through a day transition without leaving the area first, the game doesn't know where to put you. And nice. And
Oh my gosh. I try to like be super pro here. I shouldn't do that with critical health, but you know, it's whatever.
yeah, so play Sun Song there, and the game will actually put you in Ghost Trial on the moon.
Yeah,
So,
so
playing with the order, which we don't have to beat the dungeons.
yep, so that playing Sun Song right there makes a day transition happen. And this game, or that wrong warp setup is weird in the way that you can like, there's like secondary places that it'll take you to.
Is that the only one that's like that? I actually don't know.
No, every single one of them is like that.
Really? Okay.
But not all of them take you to the moon. They all take you to different places. But that specific setup takes you to the moon.
And one other thing, even though we were already in one of the trials, we do still need one more mask. We need to get the Fierce Deity mask, which Claire will get after beating all of the trials and getting rid of all of her masks. So we were already in the trial and we didn't have to pay any masks to get there. So if we beat it, we wouldn't have a way to get rid of all of her masks, and she would be able to get the Fierce Deity mask. So
Yeah, so
just to
the
leave
game,
and then do them all from the start.
the game actually lies to you. When you get Fierce Deity mask, the kid says, "Oh, everybody left, huh? So you want to do something else?" But actually, you have to give away all your masks to do it, to get Fierce Deity mask. It's very sad that it works out that way. But I guess the game never really like expected you to be able to get into a trial without paying mask.
Yeah.
Alright, nice. Okay. ISG or reset.
Nice. Looks like we're staying on schedule this time.
Alright, so now we're gonna play a song in front of this gossip stone, and that's actually gonna set some flags in the next room that basically let us skip the puzzle. It's like, it almost seems like it's intentional, but somebody like actually went through the game's data and found out that this is just like a side effect. It's not actually intended. But if I hadn't done that, that ladder would not be there. And that is what I like to call the true final boss of all masks. So Iron Knuckles do 4 hearts of damage. If I got hit at all there, I would have died.
Yeah, you just get absolutely one shot by that boss.
And then we're going to do the same thing here to skip the puzzle in the next room again. And we're going to hopefully go around his heart piece, but I've definitely accidentally gotten it before. Okay, nice. And now we're just going to give away more of our masks. I'm going to be doing these trials in a very specific order. So that way I do like the least amount of pauses possible. So even for something like this, there's like a very calculated method of doing things. Alright, so up next is gonna be the Adawa trial. And nothing... There it is. Nothing like super crazy happens in this trial. It's mainly just making sure you get the right cycles, which is pretty easy to do. However, sometimes diving into the last flower can be a little trolly. And you can just not dig in and get hit by the spikes and fall down, which is pretty unfortunate. The big flowers are... The big golden flowers are, like, not super great at letting Link dive into them. Like that. I was trying to dive in that whole time, and it was not letting me. Alright, now that trial's done. And then next we have Goat. And the Goat trial is also pretty easy. There's some, like, rolling on some pretty thin platforms, but overall not too bad. And it's actually really nice. So if you don't know this, if Goron's rolling with spikes, you actually don't have to touch the control stick. He'll keep going forward. And that's really helpful in this trial because you have to do a lot of going in a straight line while bouncing off of things. So I'm going to try and line up. You can actually, like, get bounced back by the chests because the collisions overlap in a really weird way. And you can, like, bounce off one, bounce off the other, and then go directly back the way you came. Didn't happen that time. I kind of wish it did. It's kind of funny.
And there's no way to stop yourself if that happens, right? You're just doomed to voiding.
Yeah, because you can't get spikes back.
Yeah.
Not my finest cursor movement there, but it's okay. Alright, and so now the only one left is Zora. And Zora's trial is supposed to be like kind of a maze. But since we already know the path, it's not really that challenging. Okay, this one, nice. And then after this, all we got left is fighting Majora's Mask with Fierce Deity Link. And you may think that it's impossible to die if you have Fierce Deity Link, but I'm here to tell you that I have died so many times. Because everything in that fight does 1 heart of damage, and you can get really comboed, like, really quickly.
Yeah.
So it's not really over yet, but it is pretty close. Alright. It's always super sad to die with Fierce Deity Link. But we've all done it, and if you say you haven't, you're a liar.
CFG died as Fierce Deity like 6 years ago and still gets made fun of.
Alright, so I'm gonna get magic out of this pot real quick. Because the sword beams do take magic. I want full magic. But now we just gotta fight Majora. And I'm gonna try and do all the best strats for Fierce Deity, but it's not... The final phase is a little tricky, and the second phase is kind of just luck. But first phase is gonna be over in like 5 seconds. And there's our boss remains of all the dungeons that we definitely did beat. It's pretty funny. Even if you don't beat the dungeons, the boss remains still show up in the final boss fight.
Yeah. Everyone was hoping that even if you made it there without the boss remains, like the fight would get easier since no remains to shoot you, but Majora's mean.
Yeah, you would think if the developers would be nice if you found out a way to beat the game without beating dungeons, but... Alright. Now we got left is Wrath, and there's a strat for beating Wrath quickly, but it's a little tricky. We'll see if I can do it. Go. That's time. The pot broke. What was the final time?
2:07:09.
Nice. Considering some of the things that happened in that run, 2:07 is not that bad.
GG's. It was very entertaining and very informative. That was really great commentary.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Did either of y'all have anything to say before we go to a break and set up for the next round?
Follow me on Twitch and Twitter at ClearLindy. That's pretty much it. Speedrun MM.
Yeah, Speedrun MM.
It's really fun.
Final shout outs to the whole community, everyone who finds all the different stuff, all of our routers, glitch hunters, top runners, people who are in the Discord helping people. Everyone's really helpful. It's really really satisfying to run this game just because everyone's so willing to help each other out and make everyone the best they can be. So thanks everyone.
Thanks to both of you. We do have another run coming up after this. We're going to be showcasing Majora's Mask 3D any percent. We're going to go to a quick ad break while we set up for that, and then we'll be back for that. So don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Retro Reboot, brought to you by the GDQ Hotfix. I am Zoe Vermillion. I am your host for this evening. And before we move on to our second run of the night, I did want to make a couple of announcements real quick. So the Frame Fatales games list for our upcoming all-women speedrunning event is due to come out on the 24th. And then this Sunday, we have our final episode of Tree Fort, where all of these showrunners for Tree Fort are going to get together, showcase their games, and just have a wonderful time. So make sure you tune in for that and keep an eye out for that games list. But for now, I am joined by Flex Plexico. He's going to be running the Majora's Mask 3D any percent, as well as commentators, Gymnast86 and Megahertz. Say hello.
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 All right, cool. But before we start the run, part of Retro Reboot is examining the differences between the games and their remakes from a speedrun perspective. So, Gymnast, if you have any thoughts on how these games differ, feel free. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure if there is much that they have in common anymore. Other than, basic movement techniques, these games do differ a lot in, what glitches they perform and what they take advantage of to be able to complete themselves as fast as possible. So, in the All Masks run that just got showcased, you saw a lot of uses of like SRM and ISG and, weird shots and glitches like that. But none of those glitches are going to be present in the upcoming Majora's Mask 3D run that we're going to see. So it should be pretty different from what you might be expecting if all you've seen is the All Masks run that was just showcased.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've played both games and they play very differently as well. So it's really going to be cool for me to be able to see both runs back to back from a speedrun perspective. So yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to toss this over to Flex. You can take it away and just let me know when you're ready to go.
All right, sounds good. I'll give you a heads up when to start the timer. So here we go. So I guess first and foremost is if somebody wants to kind of help explain the cycle timer, since it's a little bit kind of a long-winded explanation, we have time because first cycle is really bad. Also, time in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so yeah, this is Majora's Mask 3D any percent. There's definitely, as Jim said here, there is a lot of differences in comparison to regular Majora's Mask now. It's almost like completely different games. And yeah, one of the main things that we're going to do, and that's a lot of fun in this category, is wrong warping. Jim, would you mind kind of explaining the whole process of like the cycles and all that stuff while we're kind of mashing through?
Yeah, so when Flex actually started up his game right here from the 3DS home menu, he also started a separate timer in a browser program that he has. And this timer is specifically meant to keep track of how long the game has been running for, right? Because due to some bottle adventure shenanigans that we can do in this game, we can actually write values to what day we're on, how fast time is going, and how much time there is left in the game, like until the moon crashes, using data which is determined by how long the game has been on for. So that's the reason we need to start this special timer to keep track of how long the game's been on for, because if we are to do, our bottle adventure stuff at the wrong time, then we could potentially, crash the game and stuff like that, and it's not fun. So Flex needs to know how long the game has been on for certain parts of the run when we get to all of the fun wrong warping later on.
Yeah, I kind of figured that would be kind of a good start to it because that is one big difference. Really small difference here is that we're actually running in Japanese here, and that's simply because the text is faster. The version differences are the exact same from English to Japanese to European and all different versions. There is, however, a 1.1 version of this game that you can purchase on a game cart now, and it does patch a few things like ESS ball duping, and I think that was like one of the biggest changes to it, really. I can't really remember anything else that kind of was the biggest one. And
it ostensibly reduced lag in the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of lag reduced too. But so that also kind of got rid of the ability to dupe over one of the favorite masks that we're gonna get in this game. Well, one of my favorite masks personally. And yeah, so there is other ways of duping bottles in this game, but it's really slow in comparison. So that's kind of the only big difference. So if you do purchase from the Nintendo eShop and everything like that, you can actually get the 1.0 version and do the exact same run. So yeah, but essentially, much like Majora's Mask, we're going to go through the entirety of first cycle, but we're also going to do one or two things a little bit differently. We're actually going to collect enough rupees to get bombs here, and kind of show off what we can do with said bombs as Deku. So
Bombs as Deku Link? Madness.
yeah, so I mean, like, it's not exactly... MM3D is much like the original Majora's Mask in the first sense, that we spend about 20 to 22 minutes of going through cutscenes and very little movement. But we also have one of the hardest tricks in the game, probably within the first 15. So yeah, it'll be fun. You guys will see it when it pops up here. So, but one of the things I do really like about Majora's Mask 3D is the updated graphics. It really, I feel it does the game justice kind of thing. So
It's also interesting watching the Almas run before, specifically the music box clip. The updated graphics has other little effects that, like, things can be sometimes harder to clip into it. We can't just roll into the music box house to get inside. Well, you'll see Flex get into the music box house without getting the Song of Storms. But there are a couple different ways that we've found to do it. It's just a little bit harder than it is in the N64 version. It's partially due to that graphical improvement. Some texture and collision got changed around, and it battened down the hatches on a couple things.
Yeah, and in addition to...
Sorry.
I was just going to say that in addition to the graphical updates, this game also runs at 30 frames per second, unlike the original game, which runs at 20 frames per second. And that does affect certain movement tech in the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, once again, watching the Almas run with Sun Song, which I'm just going to throw a spoiler out. We're not going to get Sun Song in this game, in this run. But we do have something that affects the flow of time, and so we have a similar situation where we need to press Ocarina as quickly as possible. So, but our game runs at 30 frames per second, so our time moves even faster than the N64 time, so it's actually a little bit even more terrifying of a moment. So we're gonna hope that Flex gets lucky with how fast time is moving.
You know, it's been like a solid week and a half or like a month here, and I haven't gotten like any terrible frame perfect mashing, or having to do like frame perfect mashing, so that's always a positive. I was also gonna mention that you can see already there's a small difference with Deku Link, is that his spin speed is a lot slower, and he actually doesn't have the same acceleration that he does with regular Majora's Mask. So every time I start to spin, I actually have to take a few steps first in order to get that kind of max speed going, which is a little bit unfortunate. One of the little gripes and changes they made within this game that kind of made it a little bit more difficult for movement, I find. And coming up here, you can see that we're actually not going to go and skip this entire way, but we're actually going to grab the Deku Nuts here. So this is actually kind of important because we need to grab at least one item before you end the bombs to do our little trick in the next little bit here.
I mean, specifically the Deku Nuts, and this is the only place to get Deku Nuts in first cycle. There's nowhere else available to us to get the Deku Nuts. It's kind of wild that we have to stop for that chest. But the salesman will not sell you Deku Nuts, and you are a Deku. So I'm just like, what is wrong? They're my nuts.
Yeah, you can buy a bomb bag as Deku Link, but Deku Nuts are a no-go.
Too
Bomb
dangerous
shop salesman,
with little Deku Link.
Bomb shop salesman is so chill. He just strolls up to the desk like he was in the back doing who knows what.
Yeah, and as you can see here, just before this, I was actually skipping a little cutscene there with Deku Link, as seen previously that it's possible to skip this cutscene. It's a lot easier in Majora's Mask 3D because one big difference with another like huge difference with Deku Link is that we can actually spin while shielding, which will come in handy as well too. And with this Happy Mask Salesman scene, we can't exactly skip it due to the fact that we do not have a way to interrupt the game every single frame. The touchscreen menu buttons take about 2 frames in order to pop up, I believe, and that prevents the Happy Mask Salesman from getting interrupted. Good thing is that we can mash through text really fast, and boom, it's already 8 minutes in, and we're out here at least. So
yeah, the text mashing in this game is just significantly faster than almost any other Zelda title. Am I wrong about that? We have like some of the fastest text mashing.
Yeah, most of the modern games have pretty fast text.
I mean,
Typically.
like, look at
Yeah, the text is very nice.
So yeah, we're gonna kind of do the same thing here, is that we need to go to the stock pot in here. The door opens at 8 o'clock. We don't really have time for that, so we're gonna go through the top, and we're gonna go talk to Granny to get to the third day, so... because she tells amazing stories. Oh, another big thing is that we have a free cam, so we can actually use the C-Stick on a 3DS, or use a Circle Pad Pro, and we can control the camera based on that C-Stick. It is actually very useful for Majora's Mask 3D, because the camera can be pretty bad at best.
Yeah, the camera in this game's not great. Just like the original, it kind of doesn't quite do what you want it to do sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if it was something to do with just like the fact that Link's height changes so frequently with the different forms that they struggled to get the camera to do exactly what they wanted it to. But the free cam goes pretty far to sort of mitigate those issues. And I'm pretty sure any 3D Zelda game could be improved by introducing a free cam to it. So I'm glad that MM3D was lucky enough to get that feature with the Circle Pad Pro. OOT3D, not quite so lucky.
Alright, so now Flex is going across Clock Town again, because he wants to change it to be night of the third day, just to advance time a little farther forward.
Yeah, same basic thing so far. Really, not any super noticeable differences between the two speed runs, but things are gonna start to look pretty different after we're done dancing the night away, or the day at least.
Funny thing is, if
Yeah.
you mash A at that cutscene there, you can actually spin before Pierre pops up another text box there. So you want to be mashing B instead of A, or else you kind of just spin on the spot. It's kind of funny, actually. Oh, and you'll also notice the location of the owl statue is actually changed in Majora's Mask 3D to under the stairs here.
They redid most of South Clocktown, one to make more logical sense. Don't think too hard if you're exploring Clocktown in the N64 version. It will break your brain. You're like, how is this size? But it also has an interesting side effect in that the owl is not loaded when you're hanging out in West Clocktown. So that hidden owl trick that used to be so important in the MM speedruns, these days it's kind of relegated to obscurity because cooler stuff exists. But
I still think that warping's pretty cool. Just saying.
I think Index Warp is
it still
fascinating.
ranks pretty high up there.
It's a super cool glitch. That's the weirdest thing about, and this is specifically for any percent, obviously, categories like all masks and other categories, you get to see more of the game, but any percent, you're just finding cool things, or you're finding new things that are eliminating cool things that you used to do. That's
True.
I've been running this game since 2016. Wow, it's been a while. And there's so much cool stuff that we used to do that we don't do anymore, that you won't see in this run, unfortunately. So it's just how speedrunning goes. That's what the other categories are for, though.
Alright, so now Flex went and got the bomb bag. And they are not supposed to be able to use bombs as Deku Link, but there is a very specific situation that we can get around that in. And yeah. Due to a trick that's coming up, Flex did save just for safety.
It's going to be quite a few of those, actually. So this is kind of the trick where I talked about being able to use your shield and spin at the same time. It's going to come in very handy after grabbing some magic here, because once again, this is yet another requirement for it. But you're going to see me shield and spin to avoid the cutscene of the fairy there. So usually a tattle pops out and says, "It's the Great Fairy," and is very scared. We don't really want to do that because we want to keep advancing in-game time. So we kind of just shield spin across it. And we're going to do the same thing going back since the cutscene hasn't activated yet. It's still there. So we actually have to do the same thing as we leave in order to completely avoid it.
Yeah, so seeing some mentions in chat about saving during first cycle. That is actually one of the major casual changes that got made to the game, is how saving works. Song of Time doesn't save your progress. I mean, it doesn't. It's weird. If you moon crash, you'll go back to the last time you played Song of Time on that save file. When I say moon crash, I mean like if you get the game over failure state because you ran out of time, that will send
When
you
you
back
meet
to
with
the
a
last.
terrible fate.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, this is. I'll finish explaining later. This is exciting stuff that's about to happen. So he has Deku nuts, which he could drop on the ground using B, which means that all of his item buttons are active. So
I think that was 4, by the way, right?
I counted 3.
3? Okay, thank you.
So he's able to put the bombs onto one of his empty item slots, and they are active until he lands. And it allows him to pull out bombs as Deku Link.
Oh boy.
So now he's actually trying to shield bomb damage and then dive into the flower at the same time, performing what's called a Deku Flower Slide. Or a Bloom Zoom for sure.
Okay. How many buffers was that? Like 8, I think?
I only counted 6.
Oh.
But yeah, so we made it out of Clock Town early with the power of the Deku Flower Slide. It's essentially the same technique as a super slide in the original game, except you're using the animation where Deku Link burrows into the flower instead of the animation where like Link is shielding a bomb. But the cool thing about the Deku Flower state is that you can just kind of like ignore collision in that state, so you can just go right under the soldier actor who's trying to block you from exiting Clock Town early.
You also can ignore the collision of walls and then fall. So the
Yes.
setup for that particular flower slide is actually really precise. You'll see a flower slide later where it's like just no big deal, but that whole thing there,
I'm
and
gonna get the walk of
also
shame back. This is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So there's actually a small little extra bonus to this whole getting out of Clock Town early. Is if you make it to the Southern Swamp, you activate the owl, and the Song of Thorn is actually located there, which we're going to get. If you have this cutscene go off while you're at the Southern Swamp and you die to a Deku Baba that's just kind of chilling there, you'll actually respawn right back in Clock Town, which is super quick. But I was not fast enough, so I have to actually walk back.
Yeah, you'll still have enough time though. So
Exactly. I'll have plenty of time because I'm close to the exit, so.
walking back, it's really not that bad either.
No, it's
Maybe
not
throw
bad.
you off by like a cycle.
But yeah, sorry for interrupting. Kind of another change here with the Song of Soaring here is that we actually don't even need the Ocarina to learn Song of Soaring as well. So we're going to collect that owl, we're going to get the Ocarina, mash through the text really fast.
Yeah, they moved the owl here too, by the way, in case you haven't
Yeah.
played this game or seen a run of this game before. Owls. He didn't do anything weird to move the owl here. That'd be neat though.
owl displacement, I like
Owl
it.
displacement, yeah. Hot new tech.
So, fun fact is, if you play a song too fast, you can actually go over inputs, but there's also a point where you can cut off the last note as well too, where it becomes pretty darn silent. So, there's a bunch of things I find that if you end up doing it too fast, you can like input extra notes, you can input like kind of extra movement stuff, I guess. I don't know the best way to explain it, honestly.
Well, the pro is you can play pretty much as fast as you want, as long as
Yeah.
you play all the correct notes. But yeah, there have been a few times where us runners have failed a song because we played the entire song correctly, but then added an extra note onto the end.
Apparently,
for
improv
the
is
game
frowned
register.
upon.
You might actually see that, like, during this run, by the way, or just me failing songs because I'm trying to play them fast, and I'm not exactly the best at playing songs.
Playing songs is hard, man.
Oh, there we go. So yeah, we would actually like spawn in right here if we got the death warp and everything like that, but since we didn't, that's okay.
Yeah, the cutscene sets the position of entering. So when you die, you return back there. Looks like magic.
Yeah, and as you can see, the gainer also exists in this game as well too. And I think that's the only place now that we use a gainer is to get into Clock Tower early, or without going through the whole quest.
In
this
any
category,
percent, yeah. And now we can finally get our ocarina back. You know, we've already learned an ocarina song. But,
Yeah.
you don't need to have an instrument to learn how to play a song on it, clearly.
Not really. It would actually be really neat if we could find a way to use ocarina items in first cycle, because then walking back would be pretty much non-trivial, but...
You could just soar back, but unfortunately, there isn't a known way to do ocarina items as Deku Link.
And of course, the whole reason we need magic is to shoot the bubble at Skull Kid to get the ocarina back. And now we see our one cameo of Princess Zelda in this Legend of Zelda game.
So it's a Zelda game. We have Zelda right here.
Exactly. That's all we need. Like,
This
that's
is more Zelda than Link's Awakening, so.
So I'm gonna try and play this fast. This probably won't work out too well. Never mind. Another fun fact is with the shoulder buttons specifically, if you press them too fast and too closely together, it'll still register as the previous shoulder button. So if you go from L to R too quickly, it'll just register as 2 L hits.
Sure you didn't just hit the L twice?
No, I actually like I physically move my finger off of that trigger for that reason, and I've had it hit when I'm holding R. It's pretty great.
Huh, interesting.
But yeah, as you can see, text is pretty darn fast if you can like get mashing down properly.
Yeah, bizarrely, Grezzo decided that they were gonna make OT 3D text really weird, and like you can make it incredibly fast, but you have to have like a weird rhythmic mashing thing. It's a mess. And then for
Just press the B
3D,
button.
they were like, you can just as fast as you can mash, you got it.
So yeah, by the way, going back to the first flower slide there, the reason why I didn't line up on the flower and just took the damage was I was hoping to get it second try and at least have half a heart less to worry about when doing the whole death warp, but I was obviously too slow, and if I used that first flower slide, I would have actually went under the wall and voided out into nothing, costing even more time. So, it's kind of like my reasoning for the first failure of that flower slide.
Well, that trick is pretty difficult. There are a lot of new runners who will run different categories or
There's
or
other
do
tricks, by the way.
other tricks.
There's other tricks, and I'm still adamant that like it's just as fast. It's called Bomb OI, so Bomb Ocarina items, and it's using 2 bombs to or Bomb Time Stop rather. It's using 2 bombs to get Ocarina items, and then go into a time stop, so you can actually avoid that cutscene by the Southern Swamp there. That's the only reason why we get the Song of Soaring early and everything, is to avoid that cutscene. Because in First Cycle, Skull Kid doesn't exist in that cutscene, or like that whole cutscene by the tree doesn't exist.
Yeah, first cycle tournament field is really weird. There's no enemies. There's
No flowers.
no flowers, no cutscene triggers. So. It's a weird place.
Thankfully, the loading
of
zone
course.
still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
no
of course,
crash.
true, no crashing. And if you also get the transition for like the final 12 hours or 6 hours, is it? I forget.
Yeah, final 6.
Yeah, if you get the final 6 hours, those cutscenes and triggers and all those enemies actually just reappear on the map. So I've had that happen before.
Yeah, you just have to reload it, and then all of the actors and cutscene flags will go away again. But
Also, just to check, Flex, did you input the 6 home buffers?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, so at the beginning of the run, I talked about how we need to know exactly how long the game has been running for if we want to be able to pull off wrong warps correctly. And when Flex home buffered earlier while doing the Deku Flower slides, during the home buffer, the game was not running, so we need to subtract the total time that he was in the home menu for this run to actually keep accurate how long the game has been on.
And that's actually specific on a per 3DS basis because some 3DS's home buffer faster, whereas some 3DS's buffer slower. So but yeah, one thing I find really interesting about this cutscene is that you can mash through this cutscene. If you keep mashing the B button, it's actually 20 seconds faster, I think, or 30 seconds faster.
it's not.
It's
30
actually
seconds.
it's
not
like
that
30 seconds.
much, but
I swear it is. I swear, like I timed it back when I started speedrunning this game, and it's seriously, it's that much.
are
But
you sure that wasn't on English?
It's so
that,
free.
it was on
either
English,
way.
but it's a free time save either way. And this is the only cutscene where mashing B makes it go faster, though. Every
No
other
one
cutscene
ever-
that we watch in this run, no other
Right, 'cause
cutscenes go fast if you mash B.
The text advances once it has loaded all the text for a certain amount of time, and so if you let it scroll, then
True.
you will spend extra time there. But if you press B, then it loads, and then it just waits the requisite amount of time. That's why it's faster. It's not 30 seconds. Thanks, Fox. But, shout out to Fox.
How long is it then? It's like
It's
I said
8
20 to
seconds.
30, right? What?
But
It's too long for me. Put it that way. By the way, as you can see, we get the Bomber's Notebook here. It's actually useful in this run. Fun fact.
Yes, it is.
it's useful. It is very useful. It is also a
good
lot
manual.
slower. Unfortunately. But luckily we will not get very many entries in this run, so it is it's more just a tool that we get to use than a little bit of a nuisance.
Right. The Bomber's Notebook also gives you the ability to pause the game on a frame-by-frame basis while in game. So, if we'd gotten the Bomber's Notebook before the Happy Mask Salesman cutscene, we'd be able to skip it. But now that we're done with the first cycle, we can actually start and go to do some more interesting things. So first, Flex is going to be making his way up to the Snowhead region and getting the Goron mask and all that good stuff. But first, he
Provided
needs
good
to.
RNG.
Yeah, first we need to get a bomb drop in the grass right here. And the chance of getting a bomb drop is about 1 in 8 per each bush of grass that gets cut.
Oh, is it that good? I thought it was closer to 1 in 10.
Feels
Last I heard, it was 1 in 8.
honestly.
But anyway, we got a bomb drop, so we're good to go.
That wasn't good.
Flex attempted a fess there. A major difference between this game and the original is actually we can't do Hess, a hyper extended super slide, which is when you shield bomb recoil that you roll into and then pull the ESS position. But you can still do a forward extended super slide, which is what Flex attempted to do there, where he holds ESS position and takes damage from a bomb. It actually has some pretty major implications. A lot of the SRM stuff that you saw that they do in MM is based on the ability to do a Hess to pick up the pot, and that option is not available to us. So we're looking at SRM as well, but we're gonna have to find some slightly different methods of getting it.
Right, and so this is why we need bombs. We have to blow up these snow boulders or snowballs so that we can actually get up to the village. Also, there was a question in chat about how precise our timing needs to be with how long the game's been on, regarding the timer for how long the game has been running. And there's actually a 15-second time window that we have, so it's not really precise at all, but we do need to know how long the game has been on, and it's better to have a program do that for us than for us to have to track it manually, just based on the time on our live splits or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's a 15-second window, but if you miss it, you have to wait like a minute and 20 seconds before it comes back around. So it's
Also, here's a fest. It's a lot faster in 3D than it is in regular MM. So I believe, right? Or I could just be wrong. It seems to be a pretty common occurrence with my facts about both games.
Yeah, the festing is considerably faster in 3D, which I think is due to the increased frame rate, if I remember correctly. Also making sure to not talk to Tingle.
Yeah, but at least you're broke. So if you talk to Tingle, you could get out without having to get sprayed with his fairy dust. In first cycle, if you talk to Tingle accidentally on the way to get the Song of Soaring, you have too much money. You actually can't avoid either buying something, which is worse, but if you choose to leave without buying anything, then he still uses his magic words on you.
I'm getting no bomb drops in my general vicinity.
Also, yeah, right there, Flex did a long jump with a bomb as a damage source. How much speed you get when you jump off of a ledge in this game is determined by simply how fast you're going when you jump off the ledge, and you get a lot of speed for a very short amount of time when you take damage from something. So we can use that to our advantage to jump very far in this case, farther than in the original game, where the same technique works, but again, increased frame rate, so we actually end up going farther in 3DS game.
So yeah, I mean, this is a pretty standard part of the game for people who have played it before. I mean, it's just getting the Goron Mask. Only time you really use the Lens of Truth. Otherwise, it's completely useless for us for the rest of the run as well, too.
I like to think of the Lens of Truth as an item slot that I can dupe up.
That's true. It's an extra bottle, right?
Yeah, exactly. Once I get the Goron Mask, it's but that's specifically for a category that needs extra bottles, all fair rewards, which is a pretty great category in this game.
Also, when climbing up the giant wall to get up here, Flex was actually mashing the B button, because if you mash the B button while Link is climbing a wall or a ladder, Link will just climb faster. There's a number of situations where just mashing B will make something go faster for some reason.
Climbing and swimming are the big ones. So if you get in the water with human Link, young Link here, and you start swimming and mashing B, you'll actually swim faster. Same with climbing with anybody. Yeah. So, sad story. I don't really pay attention, nor do I understand half of it. We're just gonna kind of take this mask and go. And now we gotta play a little bit of inventory Tetris here. So, we're actually gonna be abusing another flower slide here, by the way. So, we're gonna go all the way to South Clocktown here, go down towards the Southern Swamp, and we're gonna flower slide all the way to Great Bay. There's another way of getting into it using a bomb jump and a jump slash, but it's also frame perfect, I believe, for the jump slash. So it can kind of be really frustrating and inconsistent. So we're just going to kind of bully this Chew to go over here. And we're going to get him to hop over here. You can use a bomb for this, but I just like using the Chew so much more because it looks so much more cool.
Somebody else with Chew slides now. Oh my gosh.
Shoutouts to Megahertz for that. So we're going to kind of like follow along the wall there. We're going to avoid the hole that's by the boulder, and we're going to kind of flower slide to the load zone.
Yes, it is very important to avoid grotto holes while you're flower sliding. Otherwise, you will fall into them, and you will be sad.
A hole in one is not what you want in this case.
Yeah, another thing about that one is that if you ever want to learn that flower slide, do not use a map because it will be such a hindrance. Learn to use the side of the wall and just kind of follow along the wall of Termina there and try your best not to fall into it.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of practice, but it's definitely doable.
I never thought about trying to use a map to navigate there, but yeah, it's
how
you're
I
moving probably
originally
too.
learned
I feel like you're moving a little too fast for that to be useful. You just gotta get a feel for it. Something we didn't mention about the flower slide, but the way that your movement works is you're moving the opposite direction that the camera is facing, so you are flying blind. For that first flower slide, you use the recoil to go down the ramp, and then you saw that he suddenly changed direction to the opposite direction that the camera was facing. And that's why both his position relative to the bomb and the way that the camera was facing when he did that trip was really important. For this one, he faced away from Great Bay because, you know, it's easier than turning around while flower sliding, but it's a little bit less important.
Now we have to go through another sad cutscene.
We'll get to watch all of this one. You'll also notice that they decided to spare us some time in MM3D, and they shortened the walk up to the beach. But they did it in the funniest way, where they actually just like cut it short, and so he just like suddenly teleports to much further up the beach.
and then just flops.
I thought that was an interesting artistic choice. Instead of making him walk faster, they just cut to the end.
I don't know if I'd call that an artistic choice, but
Hey, if I don't understand it must be art, right?
I have a good explanation. Grezzo.
Yes, the explanation for everything in this game is just Grezzo.
Because Grezzo.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Grezzo is the company that Nintendo contracted to make the Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D remakes for the Nintendo 3DS,
and Link's Awakening for the Switch,
yes,
which is
and
that game is busted.
They really have a track record going on now, I think, so it's always great.
I think
Yeah,
sorry, you can keep going.
Okay, I was gonna say, kind of going back into a little bit in order of the game, we're gonna actually head down to the Southern Swamp, and avoiding that cutscene again, we're actually just gonna use that owl we activated. And we're gonna go get the Sonata of Awakening, because we actually need to start doing some temples.
Yeah, the Majora's Mask all masks run did 0 temples. We are going to do all of them, but we're going to try to do them pretty quickly at least.
Yes, we unfortunately do not have Moonwarp in this game. So
Yet. I saw someone in chat asking where SRM research was at this point, and there are a couple things that make it difficult. First, like I mentioned, we don't have the hyperextended super slide to pick up pots. And we also are not able to, at least as far as I know yet, observe the actor heap, which is looking at a certain part in memory that is very useful for, finding out what the sort of weird motions you're doing with invisible objects you're holding over your head are doing to the game's memory. So it's in early stages, but we know that the glitch still exists in this version of the game, so we're very hopeful that that will lead to many, many wonderful broken things that will once again change any percent, so you don't get to see all the cool stuff the Flex is doing here.
Someone in chat asked how long it takes to learn this game. I don't think we can tell you how long it takes to learn, but we can tell you that this is one of the easier 3D Zelda games to learn how to speedrun. Since there aren't very many like super precise tricks that you have to do, and while there's a few unforgiving things in this game, most of the stuff that is done on the run is pretty forgiving.
Also, here's another mashing B trick as well too. After you play the Song of Soaring once, if you mash B, you can actually skip the entire cutscene. So another point of where mashing B is a good thing in this game. So let's see if I can actually do this. It's been like a few days where like every time I do this, I like leave by accident or I get the boat ride. But I didn't, so
no, not the boat ride.
I got the boat ride of shame like last week. It was great.
Oh no.
So the trick behind that is that you're actually given a couple frames to leave the boathouse while getting the Picto box. I can't see. And so sorry, Jim, sorry, you're gonna explain it. You're probably way better at explaining than I am.
Well, I was just going to say that the trick that we did right there allowed us to steal the Picto box without having to go on the boat cruise. The witch just kind of chucked the Picto box across the room and we left immediately.
And the Picto box in this game is all-powerful, so...
It is part number 2 of the all-powerful missile that we're going to get shortly here.
So...
Yeah.
Well worth even the minute-long boat ride. If you were to get the boat ride, it would be well worth it. But luckily, we are able to skip the ride.
So I forget,
Yeah.
Are those platforms moving in original?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you didn't notice another 3D change, the platforms don't move until you touch them. So we can actually really easily just backflip onto one of the doorways and just like skip half of Deku Palace. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Pulling the ocarina is difficult, yes.
It is.
The monkey is very particular about where you show him the Deku pipes. I'm not sure why, but maybe it's hard to see from up there.
Yeah. Alright, we're gonna try a fast song here. This is probably gonna go very horribly wrong, but I've gotten it more often than not, so we're gonna try playing this fast.
Sonata of Awakening is definitely the most awkward song to try and play fast. In my opinion, at least.
Whew! Look at that.
I think it probably is Oath then Sonata.
Oh, this isn't that bad.
Yeah, you never have trouble with Oath.
You have to like
But
go
watch as I
across
fail it.
from like. You have to go across the 4 buttons. I don't know. I don't like it.
So yeah, this is probably going to be like one of the hardest movements coming up, by the way, in my opinion. This is like where I struggle the most with movement in this game. Is these poison
yes.
flowers.
The dragonflies are coming up.
No. These dragonflies are the worst enemies in this entire game. Nothing will ever compare to the dragonflies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Also,
nothing in the any percent run, at least.
Yeah. Once again, since just doing a regular spin is slow, we're just gonna keep side hopping off of those flowers and stuff like that because it's actually fast. You get faster movement if you side hop. Oh, that was really bad. Nice.
Yeah, you weren't close enough to the edge there.
Nope.
It's okay.
It's very,
luckily,
very picky.
luckily we can die.
Yes.
Yay!
Death Warp back up to the top.
And it's so fortunate too that Zora Link can reach the bottom, because when you roll in the poison swamp, you just take so much more damage. You actually die quite quickly.
Well, we're gonna take the baby way, I think. Or should I try one more time?
One more time for the fans.
We have spare bombs. It'll be okay.
We have 18 bombs. It's fine.
Yeah, bomb count is like not strict at all in this game. So
Anymore.
yeah.
I'm not going anywhere close enough for that. That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, this long jump is
The edge.
tricky because like you need to be right on the edge of collision for the long jump to go like as far as it can go, but
Because the
edge
flower
of
is
the
low.
flower is really weird. So
Yeah, you can
and,
fall
and
off
if you're
really
too
easily.
far, if you're too far to it, it also fails. Okay, this should work. Look at that. And you have to jump slash. It's actually a pretty precise jump slash. We're just gonna kind of... Come on. Do it.
There we go.
We're gonna bomb jump once more. As I fiddle around with mass. That was a lot easier, actually.
The flowers are a lot closer.
Yep. You can actually jump slash as a Zora there. It's just really precise.
I do not understand how Wabi does that jump slash consistently.
I don't know. And Wabi is really good at the movement here. It's kind of ridiculous. He's the world record holder. And he's been like the world record holder for 2 years now. So...
Yeah.
Also, this is where the Song of Soaring used to be learned in the original game.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's clearly missing. So, more beneficial for us because we can learn it first cycle now. We're gonna kind of grab some magic and some hearts, and we're gonna side hop off of here because it's way faster. You do not get stuck in water.
Ooh, side hop, holding it. Z the whole time too, or L,
Yeah.
or ZL.
Oh,
Or
yes, that's
ZL.
good.
The buttons on the 3DS are named kind of weird. Oh, got the double kill.
I actually don't know how consistent that double kill is, honestly.
I mean, you don't want it because you want the fast bomb explosion.
I am terrible at the fast bomb explosion. I would much rather the double hit.
Oh, that's too bad. The fast bomb explosion is pretty fun.
So this is the entire reason we need to get the Sonata, is to open up Woodfell Temple. Not going to be used again after this.
Yeah. The loading zone
There's
for
a way
the
to,
temple
get into
is under the ground in the poisons. You just have to get there somehow. There's no way that we have found that allows us to do that as of yet. And there likely never will be, because I think you drown too quickly.
Yeah.
Specifically as
So-
Thoron Link.
Fun fact, another fun fact of this game is that if you hop into load zones and use the use a mask, you can actually just use the transition the same time you use the load transition the same time you do a mask transition. And it's actually just faster.
Yeah,
So
flexible.
Woodfall, we're gonna kind of disobey the rules as well too. We're not gonna use the flowers because who needs to use the flowers? We're
Yeah,
gonna
it's time
hopefully use
to
another bomb jump here.
do the super aerial.
Oh yes. So this is a classic. Just press and hold A. There's like a lineup we gotta do, and then we just hold A. That's not gonna work. That's better. Oh, I just missed it. Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least you burn. That's a little bit faster.
Yeah, then falling into the pit of no return.
Yeah, this long jump is weird, because you need to jump to a very specific spot on, like, the pole over there, because you obviously don't want to hit the torch, otherwise you're going to void out, because Zora Link voids out in fire.
Yeah, you have to dive there too. It's actually such a common question we get with new runners. It's like, how do you dive there? And you're actually holding A. When you go over water, open water as Zora, and you're holding A, you have animation. You need the dive to get the distance. So there's actually, I think one of the channels in the Discord, the description is just
Hold A.
You need to hold A.
Yeah, just hold A.
It is. Just hold A. So we finally got part 3 of the very important missile, by the way. So we're
Yes.
actually gonna leave it for now.
We have our Goron, our bow, and our pictograph box.
So isn't that like a nice little tiki thing there?
Ah, yes. Good picture.
I didn't use that properly. Whoops. It'd be a shame if we just kind of like flew past it, right?
I think it would be the best thing. So take a look at the bottom screen here. You might, if you're lucky, see a little yellow arrow appear.
Yeah.
Right before he loads the boss room.
Yeah.
That is the Goron
That is the
missile.
Goron missile. Does somebody want to explain it? Because what's the best way of translating the speed?
I don't actually think we know how, or like what the equation for the speed is, except that it's just faster than the original game.
Yeah, and the original game has like negative speed, but we don't. So we go the direction that you're facing. So it's a different speed equation. But basically, Goron Link was never meant to hold projectile weapon, and so when you get Goron Link to hold a projectile weapon, nonsense occurs, and you go very fast, and you get him to hold a projectile weapon by using the Pictobox. The Pictobox, in this game, the changes that they made to it allows you to perform a glitch called restricted items. So it's the same thing that allowed Flex to pull out a bomb as Deku Link. That was Deku restricted items. This was Pictobox restricted items, and this boss fight is so fast it's already over.
Thank you for explaining. This is a very slow strat, by the way. There's a faster strat that Fox knows. But I don't know how to use Deku Nuts and jump slashes properly and aim things properly, so...
Yeah, so Goron Missile will be used very frequently throughout the run. It'll be a little easier to visualize what's happening with these next few, since we're not just launching ourselves into the void as we did in the Woodfall Temple.
Maybe. One of them, maybe not, but...
Yeah, it's we'll get some really solid Goron missiles in the near
It's a solid
future.
half and half.
It's basically the rule with Goron missile: point, you click, and then you go there very fast.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
just make
yeah.
sure that you're aiming properly.
Try to
Yeah,
roll
the hardest thing about Goron missiles in this game is the fact that we don't have notches on the controller. So holding the exact same direction like every time for a setup for Goron missile is particularly difficult to do on the 3DS.
Yeah, just like how backwalking is sometimes a struggle on the 3DS because you're supposed to hold the controller
Wow.
exactly backwards, and if it's a little bit off, then Link just looks weird. See, the song is
That's
hard.
what I mean. I knew that was gonna happen too because I bad talked Oath to Order.
How dare you?
But that's totally a case of I think I slid my finger on B instead of A, and then for some reason my hands froze up. So
Yeah, Aaron Toad
it's
brings
great.
up a great point. MM3D 80% had a bit of a renaissance when a really powerful and exclusive glitch was discovered that we called the extended hookshot, which allowed our hookshot to extend infinitely. And that just we cut Goron Mask out of the 80% route. Bomb count was insanely tight because you had to use 2 bombs minimum every time you wanted to do the extended hookshot glitch, and you used it a lot because it allowed you to skip all of dungeons by just loading to the boss room by hookshotting to the boss door. But then we found Goron Missile, and now we don't even get the hookshot anymore. So you have to watch other categories. Like all masks or all fairy rewards are 100% if you want to see the extended hookshot, but it's a really cool glitch
It really
that
is.
no other 3D Zelda game that features a hookshot can do.
So yeah, this
Also,
is kind of
this-
the unfortunate part, by the way, sorry, about any percent, is that you get like a really good section of movement and then like a 3.5-minute cutscene of text mashing. So,
Yeah.
but then it goes back to really good movement. So
You were gonna say, Jim?
I was just going to say that the cutscene we're watching right now will actually only play if the Woodfall Temple is the very first temple you beat. If we were to beat a different temple first, we actually wouldn't get this cutscene. But it's
And-
unfortunately not faster to beat any other temple first, because we really want the bow for our Goron Missling abilities. Speaking of,
Point, click, go
point,
fast.
click, and shoot. Whee!
Yeah, and unfortunately we can't skip Giants cutscenes like the original game used to back when they fought bosses, because of the differences to Song of Time. There is actually a way to skip Giants cutscenes, and now we're in a con.
yeah, so the entire point of Goron Missling into the Woodfall Fairy Fountain was so that you could Goron Missile from the Woodfall Fairy Fountain into the Ikana Stone Tower Fairy Fountain. Because all of the fairy fountains in this game are actually on the same map, but whenever you enter into the map, it only loads one of them, obviously. But the loading zones for all of them still exist and are always active. So that's how we can get to Akana quickly. And then, of course, Flex also just did another Goron Missile to clip into the music box house through the front door. Because we really want the
So-
Gibdo mask for this run.
Because this is my favorite mask in the entire game.
This is just a heartwarming cutscene. You have to watch this. You haven't beat Majora's Mask, so you've watched this cutscene. Just
Exactly.
hot take. Invalidate all mini percent runs.
So yeah, we can't clip into this house unless we have the hook shot really in MM3D. So it's fast to do with the Goron Missile and just like hit the load zone that's against the door. So yeah.
But in all seriousness, the Gibdo Mask is very important for the next major glitch that's coming up, which is the Bottle Adventure. This is what we've been talking about. We've been sort of hyping up like the weird start to this run and keeping track of how long the game's been on and the home buffer count and all this stuff. Don't forget to safety save.
Yeah. Dupe first and then save.
Yep. So, and it all leads to this. We're going to dupe over the Gibdo Mask, and then we're going to fill that bottle with hot spring water. And that's going to write that timer value from that timer that starts when you start the game to the flow of time and the day. And
The
it's gonna
sad part
set-
is because I saved, I missed that cycle. So we're gonna
Oh,
be a
that's
little
fine.
bit. Actually, I can still make 0th day, and I did save. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean-
0th day is pretty safe.
Yeah, what is there to lose other than watching the moon crash?
that's true. That's true. All right, let's go grab the water. I can grab it in time here.
I would totally go for 0th day.
Here we go. Pray for a no crash. I'm not doing that. I cannot beat a temple in like a couple minutes there. That's not gonna happen. I have 24 hours.
Well, I mean,
Really?
you wouldn't even have wrong warp anyway, so
Yeah,
I,
Alright,
I
so-
thought I would, but
not on the 3rd day. What this glitch is doing, we want to get to a certain day. We want to get to a day where the number is greater than 10, and it's when you divide it by 5, the remainder isn't 3 or 0. So if that sounds ridiculous, that's because it is. But basically what we're trying to set up is we're trying to set up a glitch called the Dawn of a New Day wrong warp glitch. And in order for that glitch to occur, we need to get the Dawn of a New Day cutscene loaded, and that happens on those specific days that are greater than, I mean, technically days that are greater than 3, but for reasons that I don't understand, it doesn't work unless the day is greater than 10, and it's not a 3rd day. But
also if you didn't notice, there was no time that actually like went on that next cycle I picked up there. There was like no time that passed by in like the banner saying, 24 hours remain, 48, 72, or like 16 sometimes it puts, but We're just gonna
Sometimes there's a negative number in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, negative 32 is a pretty common one or something like that, or the negative 30s, but also the reason
Punch
why
the
I
Gibdo
punched
for luck.
that Gibdo, no, it's because you target him, and if you target him, you actually get insta-frozen. No matter how far you are, since you target that Gibdo, he will stun you. So that's why I punch him.
You can also not look at him
I'm really
funny.
bad
It is
at that,
possible.
though.
I know. Punching him is more
So,
fun.
guess what we're gonna do at Stone Tower, because we don't have a hook shot. We're just gonna kind of hope for the best and kind of climb using Goron Missile again. Just right
You
off
don't
the
have
ramp.
a
That was
hook
a really
shot.
good one, actually.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, that was exquisite. I believe that deserves a round of applause.
Claps
How good
in the
that
chat,
was.
please. That was. And the reason why it was actually so it's hard to not gain too much height there and take a long time to fall, and so that was nice and low
Oh, wait.
actually.
I've been
Also,
practicing too much. I'm used to having light
hot
arrows here.
spring water has very useful properties when you dump it against the face of a sunblock.
And it's as long as you're higher than the original the bottom of it, right? Like you can't do it if you're.
The actual water itself has to touch the eye when the water's active, and it takes a second for the water to become active. So that's why that extra little lip above the bottom of the block we have is important. You can't just do that to sun blocks where you start out at the same level as it. You have to be a little bit higher up, or you have to drop it from above, which is not always possible. So.
Also,
you
Fox
guys
has
ready
warned
to
us that apparently it's day 3.
He saw the moon. Yeah, I was kind of concerned about that, but I'll hopefully beat the temple before that happens. Oh yeah, the moon's probably.
If it's day
should I
3,
go out?
you cannot wrong warp, so you're gonna have to do some creative engineering here once you get this mask, because there's not gonna be a wrong warp at the end of this day.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm gonna get the light arrows and probably just go back and redo it, or reset Bottle Adventure after Stone Tower.
Either way you want to
There
run
we
this.
go.
Also, this Goron missile is probably the trickiest one in the whole run, one that he just did.
I think Jamama figured it out, by the way. You actually have to clip past the middle pillar. It has nothing to do with the sun block, actually. Fun fact. So you actually have to speed up enough and clip through the side of the pillar.
There's there's all sorts of things. It's a wild.
Yeah. So
And then
I
there's
love,
another
flower slide. I was gonna say that with the Goron punch, if you do the triple punch right before the cutscene, it actually still shakes the camera. I actually find that kind of funny. You'll be loading in the cutscene for the Gyro Master here, and then all of a sudden a bit of the camera will just shake a little bit.
The moon is shaking a lot, so
It is. So
it might be a good idea to get the light arrows and then try to reset up the.
Then I have to Goron Missile back up here. Oh boy.
It seems like your timer might be off.
Yeah, it probably is because of home buffers. So that's okay. I'll just restart then.
Yeah, I would save and quit, and maybe grab the Stone Temple Owl on your way out, just for good measure.
Sure.
Soar back there.
Yeah, I'm fine with time, maybe, apparently, but
we are improvising.
I mean, there should be enough time
to
beat the temple here and then just save at Ikana.
I don't know. The moon's shaking a lot. I'm kind of worried about what time it is.
But it's daytime, though. It's not nighttime.
That's true.
That is true.
If it's nighttime, we'll worry. We'll be
Hey.
first.
Yeah, these are the kind of shenanigans that can happen if the cycle timer gets off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's because time is moving so fast when you perform the bottle adventure until you play Inverted Song of Time, that if you are in the wrong day, it's very likely that you'll end up in the third day and potentially moon crash. So it's sort of what happened here. And if you've ever seen a run of this game that ends in a moon crash, it's probably because fast moving time and being in the fourth day, because the fourth day is the best day.
We're just gonna kind of be safe here because obviously these Gora missiles can be a little bit dumb sometimes. So
Yeah, this one for the boss key skip is also kind of tricky.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the second hardest in the 80% run, and also very punishing when you miss it. So soaring takes a long time.
there we go. I'm
And
like
it's not
right in the
just
corner.
the- Yeah, it's not just the missile that's tricky. It's also like being able to load the loading zone to the boss room at all. Like sometimes you just have to like move around where you think the loading zone is for a little bit until it like actually loads in or something. It's like really strange.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
this is a
sometimes
good-
you can actually sometimes you can actually hit the floor of it. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
You can hit the floor of the boss room and then jump into the load zone again. So yeah. Twin Mold is a lot different from regular Majora's Mask, by the way. So this is kind of a neat fight, honestly. This is probably my favorite fight in the game. It can be frustrating, but it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, so all the boss fights are a little bit different, but this one is just absolutely completely different. And it's pretty, I'd describe it as controversial. There are a lot of different opinions. But it's certainly a novelty if you're only used to playing the original, the NC. This is going to be quite different. Hopefully entertaining. Really good start here.
Entertaining in the
first-
positive way and not me dying.
Well, you have a fairy.
Yeah, but I'd much rather use that at Majora.
That's true.
Yeah, so Twin Mold here. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, wow.
I was just gonna
Okay.
say that for the first phase of the fight, you have to beat blue Twin Mold first. All you can do to red Twin Mold is you can like shoot his tail with light arrows to make him burrow back down and stop annoying you, but you can't actually defeat him in this part of the fight.
So that was hilariously unfair. Flex hit Red Twin Mold in the tail with a light arrow, as Jim just described, and then Red Twin Mold came barreling towards him as it went underground and just
As it burrowed.
knocked two hearts.
Knocked two hearts off. That's great.
That's extremely unlikely. I don't know if I've
The odds of that are
seen
very low.
But that's the thing about doing the fight now, is that Flex has 4 hearts, which means as Child Link he can take 2 hits before he is dead. Well, no, 1 hit, and then the next hit he dies. So it's a pretty... You're expected to have maybe a few more hearts, maybe at least 2 more, maybe double defense, if you're collecting fairies.
Also, a nice pause by Flex there in between the cutscenes.
You can actually soft lock the game if you get that pause as well too, which is pretty funny. It's a good way to end a bad run.
That pause is frame perfect, so that was a very impressive frame perfect trick to do at nothing, except for...
Congratulations, the prize is nothing.
Also, right here, for this phase of the fight, now that we have the Giant's Mask, we kind of have to beat up Red Twin Mold a little bit to make him fall down. Alternatively, you can use the 2 giant spheres that are in the arena and throw them at Red Twin Mold to knock him down. But there are only 2 of those, and this fight is at least 3 cycles long, so...
Oh yeah, fun fact. Did you guys read the instruction manual?
Yeah.
There's a fun fact in the instruction manual that tells you about Twin Mold. If you rotate your circle pad counterclockwise when you're throwing him or have him in a chokehold, you will actually do this fight in 3 cycles. So
It's DRM to prevent you from pirating this game. You gotta have the instruction manual.
Yeah, so this time Flex is going to use the balls to smack and stun Twin Mold.
Yeah, why they only gave you 2, I never know. But
Yeah, it's
They
actually
want you
kind
to
of annoying.
experience the fight.
yeah, it's
3
10
would have made
hits.
this fight so much more consistent.
It's 10 hits to knock Red Twin Mold down during this phase of the fight. But if Red Twin Mold dives before you've gotten 10 hits, he actually resets his damage counter, and you have to start over. It can be mildly frustrating and definitely take up a lot of time. So
Yeah. It's
Luckily
pretty
this fight
awful,
went
especially
really
if you
well.
get hit in the very first cycle. And then he just disappears. That was actually a pretty good fight, all things considered.
it was really smooth. Yeah.
No shenanigans.
What are you talking about? This entire run is all shenanigans.
Listen, I'm fighting a boss in the intended way. There is no shenanigans here.
I guess that's fair. You didn't get to this boss the intended way, though.
That is true. And I'm just gonna grab it. That's a very shaky moon, actually. You're right.
Yeah, it is definitely just still daytime, but I was concerned by how much the moon was shaking.
Boy. Okay, so 2 more bosses, and normally this would be a very good kind of show off of a whole boss rush, but since we're kind of disjointed with the cycle timer, I'm actually gonna have to go save and restart the game. So
And then wait 2 minutes.
yeah, and then wait 2 minutes. But I mean, 30 seconds of that, I guess, is taken up by just loading in the game initially. So
Another Giants cutscene. Fortunately, we cannot skip. But it has great music, so I guess we got that going for us.
yeah, unfortunately, the only place where you can really skip the whole end remains is Goat, right? I don't even think you can do it in Woodfall.
Yeah, you're a couple of you're just like a little bit away from being able to skip the remains cutscene in Woodfall and in Goat. The way you do it is with a Goron missile. You Goron missile at the edge of the blue warp, and you collect the remains, but you end up out of bounds, and you void out. So you have the remains, but you skip the cutscene. So it's featured in one of the other categories of this game. Fairy rewards, the objectively best category of this game. But
Definitely has more content, but
unfortunately, it's not faster. A wide variety of reasons that differ actually from category to category. So you will not be seeing it here.
all right. So we're just gonna restart the game here.
Playing it
Also,
safe.
shoutouts to Flex's awesome home menu theme.
Oh, thanks. As you can see, my 3DS is very, very decked out with Majora's Mask. So
Do you like playing
it's a
this
fun
game?
game. No.
Yeah, so now we have to wait for the cycle timer to get.
I forgot about time going forward so far. That boulder gets to be pretty big.
Oh.
So yeah, we kind of freed the old man. Now we can go unfreeze him, but we're gonna
Got
kind
some
of leave
free
him there.
extra content there. Yeah. that boulder's size is based on which day it is, and normally there's only 3 days that you're interacting with, but we're in like the 100 and somethingth day or whatever. So we just got to see the boulder take up the entire map.
You can't even move forward either, which is pretty funny.
You want to maybe
Luckily-
show off moose hopping right now?
Moose. Oh, I actually could have. Yeah. Oh boy.
Well,
Should
that's
I?
fine.
Error. Now I feel safe.
Yes,
Now I
alright,
feel
we're
safe.
safe.
Error,
We got the error.
I feel really safe now. So which warp should I show off, by the way? Postman or the other one?
I mean, it's
Oh,
the same number
yeah.
of load zones now. So
We're
I
gonna
guess
do
you
the other one.
Postman.
Just kidding.
What?
Uh,
Total fake out.
I really want to show off this one because this one's actually really cool. So
I'm hurt. Oh, because you're
I
gonna
know.
do the ground missile?
So I'm not gonna do the Goron missile because I voided out way too many times doing that. So yeah, fun fact with that whole error screen, by the way, the other portion of it actually does say error as well too. It's just that in other languages it just says stars because it doesn't have the translation available. That's kind of funny.
Did you set the
Error,
time
error.
update at 5 a.m.?
Oh, to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Great question. We're just gonna kind of.
Yeah, so we want the day transition to happen as soon as possible here for the New Day wrong warp.
Negative 23. I like it.
Dang, can't believe the world ended 23 hours ago.
Well, I mean, it's true. Look, there's no moon. It's gone.
It's true.
It's actually over.
The blood of the moon is splattered across the sky.
Oh no. Oh wait, I should probably. You know, I'm actually gonna do like proper equips here and stuff like that, just to make my life easier.
Yeah, now would also be a pretty bad time to find out that you can actually triple slash that and you like
Hey, don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. You know. So, upcoming is another effect of mashing B. Dawn of a New Day actually transitions faster if you mash B through it. So, yeah. That one
well,
happens
and
really
also
quick.
coming up is a wrong warp.
What?
Which is kind of exciting.
Or not?
Oh, because you did the first day. You did the first.
The first fourth day
fourth
instead of
day.
the.
You need to do this. You need to do at least the second. Yeah. Okay, though. Just go back. And do
I was
it.
not prepared for that, but okay.
Yeah, that's why I said you need to wait 2 minutes.
Right.
This is what I said with the math and the waiting.
Yeah,
and...
with the math.
With the math.
Math
Clearly
is
I
too hard.
listened. Oh, whoops. Come on. Well,
As a slidey boy.
yeah. I was gonna say that we'll do the other one now. You know what? You get your wish. We'll go to the postman's office.
And you also get a chance to do moose hops too. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
just get to correct all of your mistakes.
All right, Moose Hops, you ready for this? Let's see if I remember how to do it.
The Run Link has some very flexible
you have to,
hips
like-
right here.
So yeah, let's try that again there and get like a better camera. My timer's coming up really soon here actually, so. But as you can see that my legs kind of like fold in on themselves. It's pretty great. It's just the effect of Goron Link being able to hold a bow in his hand when he really shouldn't be able to. So it's kind of a poor example just because of the camera angle, and I've never really done it before in like a divot like that. So okay, so this should work, right?
Yes,
I see
'cause-
no reason why it wouldn't.
Perfect.
We had a question in chat. Are the runs different between 64 and 3DS? And the answer to that is a big yes. Nothing that, or hardly anything that you would see in this run, you see in any of the N64 runs, and vice versa, for the most part.
I forgot to move time forward again, by the way. Also, Sung of Double Time, that's another big change.
Yeah, even if
Because,
we had Sun Song, I don't know if we'd use it so much because we can actually set our time to any time that we want. And we can skip the cutscene by, again, mashing B. So it's a little bit less relevant to have Sun Song, although it is pretty neat to see the NPCs moving super fast. I guess you could get a similar effect if you change the flow of time with Bottle Adventure, but you would never be able to see an NPC because you'd probably just moon crash too quickly.
Okay, so this will work this time, so that's good.
Are
We're
you
just gonna
sure
kinda wait for
about
this
that?
dawn of a new day. I really hope so.
Yeah, well, without doing any math,
There we
because
go.
math is banned.
Math is banned. All right, so I'm gonna mash the start button for my action swap manual very quickly here. I'm gonna put the tattle alarm to 6 a.m. because it's not 6 a.m. yet, and now it is. And I missed it. Cool. So we're just gonna move it to 7. I guess I didn't hit the Y button in time. Cool.
So the Dawn of a New Day cutscene adds a number to your scene load value or your map load value, and so when you add that number, I believe it's 7, to the postman's office, you get the goat boss room. Same thing with the Road to Akana map. You'd actually also end up in the goat room, and some very dedicated and talented people have actually mapped out all of the wrong warps that you can do using this glitch, and none of them lead to the moon, so don't get too excited.
I think if I remember correctly, one of them should have led to one of the trials, but just crashed or something stupid like that.
Yeah. So
anyway, we can still wrong warp to the goat boss fight though, which is very useful because it allows us to skip, the entire Goron Lullaby quest, and going through all of the Snowhead Temple.
That little trick that Flex did at the beginning of the fight allows us to skip fire arrows as well, and that's show off the usefulness of the Bomber's Notebook. You can set Tattle alarms, which forces Tattle to talk to you. Tattle doesn't want to, but you can force her to by using the Bomber's Notebook, and you can interrupt pulling out the Deku Stick and use it to shoot an arrow that has been touched by fire, which is a complicated way of saying a fire arrow that doesn't do extra damage.
A fire arrow that isn't a fire arrow.
But it allows us to melt the ice and start the goat fight without ever setting foot in the actual Snowhead Temple.
So that fight could have went better, but we actually got like a quick ending to the fight, so that's a positive. That entire segment could have went way better.
Yeah.
Oh well. I'm gonna be more safe than sorry for this Majora fight because he was not treating me properly yesterday. I'll tell you that much.
So yeah, again, it is technically possible to skip the cutscene for these remains here, but doesn't actually end up. Yeah, it doesn't actually end up saving time because we need the cutscene to play out so that we get the spring versions of the Mountain Village and the Twin Isles.
Yeah, so the spring version.
Sorry. No, you go first. Mine's irrelevant.
The spring version of Mountain Village is a different map than the winter version. So when we do the wrong warp, it's going to give us a different result than if we did it in the winter version. So you have to watch this cutscene. Two things?
Well, instead of watching this cutscene, isn't it possible because you can actually use like wrong warping to get to Spring Mountain Village and then go back down, use wrong warping again, and then get to Goat? Wouldn't that be faster than watching this cutscene?
No. You can do it, but it turns out since wrong warp cycles are 1 minute and 20 seconds apart, and you need to do 2 wrong warps, even if you could do it in 2 subsequent cycles, it would actually not be faster than just watching this cutscene.
Good point.
And I don't even, and it's so tight to do it in 2 subsequent cycles. I think you have to shenanigans like inverted Song of Time storage wrong warps in order to actually do it. So it's harder and not faster, but I think it doesn't lose you any time technically. But it is definitely not faster.
We're gonna save here again, just to be safe, but I'm also gonna be out of cycle again, so we can do more with hopping. This is going way overestimated, by the way, by like a couple minutes, so that's great. Provided,
No worries.
even if everything goes perfect, but yeah. Almost got a hole in one.
Darn.
Okay.
The thing about the 80% run in this game is because you need to do 2 wrong warps. You have to hit those specific cycles, and when you miss them, even by a little bit, you lose large chunks of time. So estimates for this game are pretty hard, because when little things go wrong, you have the potential to lose large quantities. Look at those hops.
There we go. Some proper moose hopping over here.
Once you hop, you can't stop, right?
Yeah, so this next time that Flex catches hot spring water, he's actually not going to immediately play the Song of Inverted Time. He's just going to let the day-night cycle keep on going and going and going. Because the map that we want to wrong warp from is just outside this grotto, and day transitions will not happen inside grottos, so...
Well, depends on when you catch the water too, because I've had games just crash in here before, but as you can see, time is moving very fast. It's scary. We're just gonna kind of swap out that while we're at it too.
We got 2 errors that time.
That was a really good camera, I'm not gonna lie. That that was great.
So yeah, that's a taste of just how fast time is moving when you do the bottle adventure, because you don't really see it so much in the grottos, because you don't see like a physical transition. You'll hear the bells and you'll see the little prompts come up, and that's just time moving really quickly. But there you got to see 2 quick transitions.
Slow time.
Oh yeah, very slow time, excellent.
Well, yeah, not that quick transitions. Like, time was moving much more slowly than it possibly can when you do that glitch. Sometimes it's moving 1 day or 12 hours per frame. So,
Pardon my bad aim.
Anyway, yeah, this is the Gjord fight that we conveniently wrong warped into. This fight is also much different from the original. The beginning is sort of similar, except you just have to hit the eye a few times after Gjord is stunned, but then they added a completely new second phase to this boss once you hit the eye 3 magical times, which we will eventually see.
they also made it possible to see in this room.
Yes, that's a
in the
very nice change.
There's just lights everywhere. You know, atmosphere's gone, but being able to see is kind of nice, I suppose.
So I'm setting up for the quick down. I've never gotten it, by the way, ever since I started running this again, so it'll be a miracle. Actually, you know what? If you can just start. Oh wow.
Yeah, he just kind of ended that phase kind of far away, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
So,
If the mines could spawn soon, that would be really nice. There we go.
it's possible to knock him down using the Zora barrier if you are close enough to him when the phase starts and you skip one of these unfortunate mine phases.
So yesterday, actually, I had one of the mines be contested with me, and I actually got swallowed instead of getting a mine in him, and it was really frustrating because I was right beside it the entire time, and it was moving, and then it just stopped, and I saw me just slowly going into his mouth. So
Yeah, there's kind of a theme
fight
to
is
this
so
game,
bad.
where Grezzo original content tends to be a little bit messy, whereas the stuff that they carried over directly from the original game works pretty smoothly. This fight is a pretty good example of that. Mines will just like sit in place and you have no idea why.
I mean, yeah, the boss fights in general, like, are typically what you'll lose time to in this run, and it's specifically like the places where Grezzo changed the boss fights that you lose time to.
Right. Like right there, the mine was just so close. Like, but
Yeah,
it
I think it blew up first.
on
Yeah.
Bjorg's face instead.
Yep.
Just yeah, that's things like that happen all the time. So
But now George is dead. Oh, excuse me, Bjorg. So
the Dreadfish George.
Redfish George.
So this is the final remains, or mask remains that we needed to get. So now we can go and fight the final boss
Guess how we're gonna get there?
by watching the cutscene.
Yep.
Because moon warp is not a thing.
That is true.
How do you warp to the moon? You watch the cutscene.
You play the Oath to Order, and
We
you
don't-
watch like
we don't-
intended.
Yeah, we don't use any dirty hacks and cheats like those runners use.
Right? Modifying stale references and all that technical knowledge and know-how. I wish we could. But no, there's actually, if you haven't noticed, it's not exactly Night of the Third Day. And I'm not about to go Song of Double Time until Night of the Third Day, because that takes a lot of time. So, there's one very convenient way of getting into the clock tower. And I'm pretty sure anybody at this point can guess what it is. So I'm just going to kind of give it away. I'm just going to Goron Missile straight through the door, or go very high into the load zone. And I guess we'll see which one I actually hit.
Oh, you're gonna go on missile into the door. I know. I
Yep.
mean, Iwabi's been doing that since like Gorm Missile was discovered, and I just can never get it to work. So
It's my one small contribution because I found that. I'm going to learn to do it consistently. And I think I actually have. So fingers crossed it actually works right now. If not, I'm going to eat my own words. I'm too far up. There we go. There we go.
oh yeah. I thought you meant you were gonna stand right in front of the door.
Oh, no.
You can do that.
That one's
It is possible.
ridiculous.
I know.
Oh yeah, there
I'm
is a
not sure
little
there was a
slope in
ramp.
front of the door, huh?
Yeah, it is genuinely possible to end up into that loading zone if you just Goron Missile right in front of the door. But I've seen it done, and I don't know how.
The best is when you pull the ocarina before the Gjord fight, time stops where the door is already down. And then you don't have to Goron Missile into it.
Oh,
once you
yeah.
defeat Gjord.
I hit X there. Huh.
The order's so hard. But yeah, it's hopefully someday soon we will have we'll have cracked the code of the MM3D actor heap, and we won't be watching this cutscene. But for now, we do get to enjoy it in a beautiful, clear blue sky, because the sky is actually based on what day it is, and since we're here in the first day, we get this beautiful, lovely blue sky as the world is supposedly ending.
Yeah.
And that's actually why a side effect of the Dawn of the New Day wrong work glitch is that it sets the day to day one. And that is because for the end credits cutscene, which is what that Dawn of a New Day cutscene is trying to load, it sets the day to 1 because that's the sky that they wanted for the end credits cutscene. They wanted that nice blue sky. So it's just a fun little side effect of that glitch.
Yeah, funnily enough, doing the 4th day wrong warping on Termina Field will bring you to the Termina Field credits map, but it will not start the credits. So,
Yeah, you'll get to,
unfortunately, just shy of a credits warp with that one.
you get to hang out with Happy Mask Salesman and Kid and
And they all
opponent
stare
that you
at
can't
you
ride.
too, don't they? Like
Yeah.
Happy Mask Salesman will actually like turn his head and stare at you as like you walk by. It's kind of unsettling.
And all of the load zones in that version of Termina Field actually crashed the game too. So it's like the first cycle Termina, except all the load zones are broken, and you also can't pull out any items. You can't open their menu. So it's just fun to go there if you feel like crashing the game.
Also, side note, look at those HD giants.
Oh yes.
Never
these
seen like days.
these 240p giants.
240 in HD.
Are you playing on Citra?
I don't know what
It's
you're
not-
talking about.
It's not 240. It's at least 480 for the top screen. Right?
Yeah, it's 480.
Yeah.
Or, yeah,
Bottom,
480,
bottom
sorry.
screen is 240.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to nerds who would be very upset if we called this game HD.
This is where we cue the typical Nintendo should remake all the Zelda games in HD for the Switch and port them onto there.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't the Skull Kid. It was the actual mask all along. Because we didn't see that in original Majora's Mask. We don't know how they got there.
That's true. You got none of the lore.
Yeah, if you guys forgot the story, Skull Kid's not actually evil.
The moon is also... We forgot the most important change. In,
Yeah, the very
Termina 3D.
retextured moon.
The moon is terrifying in this game. Stuff of nightmares.
It's so terrified, I love it. Also,
if I had-
one part of the cutscene that I really enjoy here is like the raw emotion shared between two orbs of light, right here. Where it like goes to one and then pans to the other, just silence.
My favorite part of this cutscene is the end when Goron Link does the best scream of all time.
Alright, yes.
Oh yeah, that's true. Ready? The best face in this game goes to go on like opening items or just the general shock. Alright.
Alright, here we go.
Now let's hope Incarnation is actually really nice to me today. Had a bad
I like
track
it
record
when-
as of late recently.
I like it when Incarnation is nice. Makes the fight easier.
Yeah, although there are some pretty amusing clips out there of even top runners.
The 4-year-old clip of the instant stun lock. I love that.
And even world record holders sometimes get stun locked by Incarnation. So that's one of the changes to this game that is maybe the most entertaining when you're first getting into the speedrun. Is just how challenging this boss fight is in any percent, because the changes Grezzo made to it make it quite a bit harder, and you have very little resources. So it's
Grab the extra heart. Because like that'll make a difference, but I hope.
that's another question that you get a lot of times when people tune into any percent runs. They haven't seen any percent of the runs of this game. They're like, why are you getting the heart? It's like, you don't need them. It's just like,
Oh yes, you do.
yeah, you do.
So, fun
Wait,
fact is, these remains, even though they're off screen, if I do turn to them... Alright, that's it. If I do turn to them, they still will fire, even if they are off screen. I do believe that differs from Majora's Mask, where if they're just off screen, even if you turn, they won't fire. Is that correct?
I
And
have
that's
no
why they're
idea.
able to leave the remains alive?
I believe that
Because
is
they're not as rampant?
correct.
So, you'll see right now, actually, because I'm just going to turn around and get them to fire. So, they're... Oh! And instant troll. Love it. Good thing I was still shielding. Oh no! Please! Oh! Okay, you know, I'll take it. I'm just gonna grab this heart to be safe.
That was interesting.
That was. I actually avoided, like, the extra stun fall down.
Yeah, so that's the attack that we're talking about. That can lead to stun locks. because once that attack is over, you're also on the ground like a good, I don't know, 5 seconds. It's kind of ridiculous. But if you get hit by a remain energy ball, like Flex did right there, you actually don't skip that knockdown part. You get to jump back up and fight a little bit faster, which is nice. But yeah, Incarnation control you pretty hard game.
Speaking of the remain balls, the orbs of like energy that the remains shoot can actually damage Majora as well as you, and they do an
Also, side
insane
note,
amount of damage to Majora.
Did you see that? My last boomerang just barely came back and finished that phase when I thought I had to do another one. That was so lucky.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
the remains, if you leave them alive for the wrath part of the fight, they'll actually do a great fairy sword jump slash of damage and end this fight really quickly. But we're gonna opt for a Goron Link stun lock instead.
Yeah, so time is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, the end of this fight is pretty trivial if you kill the remains and you do it this way.
Done.
GG.
Oh,
Yee.
that was really bad. I think that was like probably like 5 minutes over estimate, wasn't it?
A little bit less than that. It was about a 1:39:30. I had stopped time probably a second too late.
Ah. Well, it's not so bad considering the fact I had to like restart console and bad warps and stuff like that. But hey,
Yeah, I think that was a good showcase.
Yeah.
That
Good
was-
job, Flex.
And more content.
thanks.
We're good. So that is our last run for the evening, but we are going to go on a raid. But before we do that, I'm going to let you guys, if you have anything you want to say, any shout outs, go for it.
Go ahead, Flex.
No, you first. You first.
I just want to shout out GDQ for doing these hot fixes and the retro reboot showcasing the remakes of games, because they can go overlooked sometimes. But MM3D is a blast. It's super fun, and really appreciate you guys showcasing Flex and this run. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to definitely shout out GDQ for allowing me to do this, and shout outs to Mega and Jim for commentating for me. Definitely helpful, and you guys are the best. And also shout outs to my fiance for telling me to do this, because I probably would have said no otherwise. So yeah, thank you
shout-outs
everybody
to-
for watching.
Big shout outs to Flex's fiance as always.
As always.
That's really sweet.
Also, shout outs to Murky for making capture cards once again. So if you want to speedrun Majora's Mask 3D, you can buy yourself an expensive capture card to stream this game and speedrun it if you want to.
All right. Well, again, thank you all so much for being here tonight. This was a blast. And I will say you're welcome and thank you on behalf of GDQR, at least Hotfix. So before we get to that raid, I just want to remind everyone that on Sunday is the last episode of Tree Fort. The showrunners will be running in that and kind of just sending it off with a good show. And then a week from today, the 24th, we have games list for Frame Fatales. We're going to throw it to a quick ad before we wrap up. But on the other side of that ad, you will be greeted with Hyflopod. She is running Ocarina of Time, so give her a lot of hype. We're going to keep the Zelda train rolling. Good night, everybody.